Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And today I would like to introduce you to a very special guest who I hope we get to know a little bit better. His name is Eric Rolon. Rolon?
Rolon, like the deodorant.
Roll on. Roll on. You should have an extra L. You should petition to your ancestry.
Well, okay, so the final O inside my name is supposed to have an accent over top to make it easier for people.
Okay.
I think we lost that when they were coming over to Ellis Island.
Yeah, I think I know that feel because I'm pretty sure they just misspelled my last name when they came over from Poland. Like, because people just couldn't spell.
Oh yeah, well, I think there's also a bit of at least for some people a disconnect when they see just a long word that's got more than two syllables. For instance, my cousins, their last name is Schermerhorn, very German last name. I remember going to a picnic a long time ago. It was like it was almost like a VFW picnic, and they had little prizes for the kids and whatnot. And my cousins are all there, and so as they would call out prizes for whatever kid's name was coming up, I heard that name pronounced Schlangmahorn, Schlermahorn, Schlermerhorn, and I just had to shout out and yell at this guy. I'm like, there's no L inside here. You're just seeing what you want to see at this point.
Look, I know lots of people who can find L's where you wouldn't expect them. So I would. Anyway, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know how best to describe you. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you to describe yourself, which makes my job a lot easier. And then we'll kind of get into some discussions. One thing I do want to say to the audience is two things. Okay. Those of you who follow me on Twitter may have seen a very recent tweet, actually two tweets, one of them talking about the dumbest thread you can find on Twitter right now. That is in response to Ron Toye, and it's a whole thing about some stuff with him and Ken Jennings, and it's wonderful and perfect. But we're not going to discuss that tonight on this show because that's not really anything that Eric is involved in. And with that, the other preview here is we're going to find out that Eric is an anime voice actor, and in some major productions like One Piece and some other ones you may have heard of, even if I haven't, because I'm a terrible anime pleb. But with that, some people want to have a bunch of answers about anime situations that we've talked about in the past on this show. But that kind of stuff mostly happened before Eric's time there. So I would suggest that if you do send in those questions, of course, I will appreciate it with the super chats, but they probably won't get answers that you're looking for because it's just not something that Eric really has personal knowledge of. So I want to warn people ahead of time. I don't want any, bad expectations being set that, oh, this guy's going to give me juice on this, this squeeze. It's probably not going to happen. So with that said, though, I think we should get into it right after I answer these first couple of super chats.
For sure.
That came in right before the show. And for you guys out there also, I did put up two videos today. They were stream segments from yesterday when Nate the lawyer jumped in. One of them is about the Michigan school shooting with the parents of the kids. And Nate and I talking about that. And the other one is a riotous clip, especially by the end, of Nate and I talking about Jussie Smollett. Smollett?
Juicy Smollett.
Juicy Sommelier. Oh gosh. There are lots of bad implications with that. But yeah, I ask you guys, go ahead and check out those clips, especially if you missed the stream. They're pretty good stuff. And they were lots of laughs. Tomorrow, the trial of Kim Potter kicks off in earnest at 9 a.m. Central Time. So I'll be on all day. All right, here we go. Dean Domino says, gonna have to watch this on the video on demand, but really enjoyed your talk with Cress, Eric. Glad to see you on here.
Thank you, Dean.
So that's cool. CBDX.com says, we thought a super chat without our usual shilling was in order, so just came to say, looking forward to another great stream. Thanks for doing these. Thank you, CBDX. That's cbdx.com. But I will email you guys. I finally have gotten an answer, so I'll email you. I'll try to remember after the show. Otherwise, I'll do it tomorrow. Wolfgang Deos is already late. Now leave the closet, Nick. No, never. It's comfy in here. And then Justin White says, greetings from Chaska, proud of great Minnesotans. First snow here today. Oh, you got your first snow today? We got ours a couple days ago, and it's just sitting around on top of my car. So that's nice. Anyway, do you get snow where you are, Eric?
Oh, goodness. If we do very, very light flurries, last year, about the coldest that I've seen it
Ooh,
here.
light flurries. There's this guy on YouTube that perfectly describes his hand-to-hand fighting style, and his name is
Oh,
Attorney Tom. Light flurries.
oh.
That's what Attorney Tom does. So
I thought you were
sorry.
telling me that he was like a master of Aikido or something like that, because I've seen plenty of those compilation videos of dudes just falling over from a stair.
He's a master of getting stepped on
Oh,
at
yeah.
at anime conventions. I've
Oh,
never
boy.
seen anyone get stepped on as well as him. It was very good, very enlightening.
But yeah, no, we
Sorry.
no, you're good. About the coldest that I've seen it here in the Dallas DFW area was last
Oh,
year.
you're in Dallas. I should have put that together, but I didn't. I did not. I thought you weren't always in Dallas.
No, my home area of the Chicagoland area, yeah, we would get some of the worst winters on record there, and then you'd get that slow melt, and then the freeze,
Yeah.
black ice, like an inch and a half thick on the road. Oh yeah, and then
Oh,
of
dude.
course you get the kids playing in the drifts on the side of the road when the plow comes through. All the good
So
times.
since I'm now putting back together that you're in Dallas, I a couple years back, several years back, I think I still even had a minivan at the time. We were driving down for the worst possible set of circumstances.
Okay.
I had a family reunion in Corpus Christi, which like I like going to my family reunions. I like to see the extended family. It's a fun time, but I hate
Mhm.
Corpus Christi with an unbridled passion. I never want to be there. It's so far. It's farther than anything on earth. Like it's always farther away. You could be right outside Corpus Christi. It's like, oh, how far back to town? It's like too far, man. We should just turn around and go the other direction.
That's how I feel about Galveston. Like I want to say it was, I think, the first or second year that my wife and we moved here from Nashville.
Yeah.
Originally I am from the Chicagoland, but my acting journey has taken me to Florida, then back to Chicago, out to Nashville, and now to here. We had gone down to my folks they had driven a car down, and they were going to stay for a few days, so we just all piled in, went to the beach. Uh, for starts, that is the hardest sand I had run on. If you take a spill inside that picking up shells, it's like hitting concrete. But it was
Kind of. I'm gonna mildly challenge you.
okay. All right.
Minnesota lake beaches are worse.
Well, you're considerably farther north and way higher above sea level
Yeah,
there.
it's not really sand at that point. It's just fine dirt.
Yeah, it's just
Sorry.
volcanic ash that is starting to reglassify 2 inches below the surface. But
Okay,
we
sorry,
had
I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you're good. We had gone out there, and that was about as far. Well, with the exception of a mission trip I went on to Mexico, that was about as far south as I've been, and as far south as I've been, and actually going to the ocean. But that wasn't even the best part of it. We ended up staying inside a La Quinta Inn, and it
Was
was
there a
built.
Denny's next to it?
No, there was a Golden Corral, which we went to, and I had the best popcorn shrimp ever.
Ooh.
But the weird thing about this La Quinta Inn, and I don't know if just all the real estate got bought up before they decided to go there, but it was literally built on top of ancient Indian burial ground, actually bisecting a cemetery.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, had a little ghost spook show in our room that night. My deodorant got taken out of my bag and thrown against the wall. My wife's phone got picked up and chucked. It was I mean, we had all the stops pulled out on us that time.
God, I want to go stay at that La Quinta now. It's
I
the
know.
only time I've ever wanted to stay at a La Quinta.
Maybe take a priest with you if you do.
You know the bell tower that they used to have at the La Quintas?
Yes, I do.
Do you know that's a room?
No.
Yeah, at least in some of them. My parents got to stay in it one time. They're driving somewhere And they're like, well, we only have one room left, and they're in the tower. And my dad's like, wait, really? So it's this like weird multi-level room that they have.
I,
In some
I
the new ones, they don't build the tower on them anymore. But yeah, it was weird.
I can see the guy behind us going, "Hey, just as long as you're cool with a 4:30 wake up, we can't shut that bell off. So maybe sleep with
Yeah.
cotton in your ears." Dong, dong.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's far south as I've been, especially with family crammed in a car for as long a drive as that was. But on the way back, this whole trip was just pockmarked with landmines of the weird and inane. We were just a couple hours away from getting back to Dallas, and we're heading out of one city to, I guess, hit open country, and I go to move over to pass some slower moving vehicles like you do, and I see this guy up in my rearview mirror. All of a sudden, just he's right there, and he swerves over into one lane. He was doing probably about 20 miles faster than I was, and I was already slightly speeding.
Sure.
And uh, this guy, he went just DEFCON 5. Just he blew a gasket, pulls in front of me, and he slams on the brakes, and he's brake checking me and all that. He pulls up alongside me, throws a Gatorade at the car. I'm like, well, welcome to Texas. Thank you very much. So he kept going, and under my breath, I'm just like muttering curses and whatnot. Kid you not, 2 miles up the road, I seen that same guy. He's wrecked his car into the median, and he's leaned up against it on the side of the road with a totally smashed in front end on the, phone with presumably AAA.
Yeah. Yep. That's how it goes. Texas roads don't forgive and they don't forget.
I guess.
Especially when you get into like Houston, the roads seem to narrow and the drivers get worse. It's messy.
Well,
But
correct me
see,
if I'm wrong, isn't
oh,
Houston, like, considerably, older than the Dallas area, or do I have that wrong?
I have no idea.
We'll check
Like
it up. Somebody
I know
fact
that
check
the
that.
I know that the Dallas area is well, Houston and Dallas both constant construction. I think my entire life, so I never can tell. But Dallas, especially lately, I mean those the northern suburbs just blew up.
Oh man, still they are. They've been widening the roads out, and it was already for in most areas 3 to 4 lane roads. Now it's looking going to be like 5 to 6 lanes, which is
Yeah.
awesome for the morning commute. But I don't know if they're expecting just a huge influx of people coming from the north instead of the south. I don't know.
So we've completely derailed your introduction, but I
I
wanted to
suppose we did.
briefly recount. I know what it's like because this. So a couple years ago, I'm driving the family and we're heading down to Corpus Christi, and Dallas got a record ice and snowstorm that year, and it was crazy because so they have like one plow in Texas, and it's trying to clear all the roads. And so I'm driving, and I've got all weather tires. I'm used to driving,
Sure.
in snow and ice. So I'm just booking it. My in-laws are behind us. We're going like 65, 70 miles an hour. There are cars just flying off the road. Like every couple hundred yards, there's a blown up RV in the ditch. And it's like, this is bad as we keep driving, it's terrible. You don't want snow down there. Not at all. Ever.
No, definitely not. There's, I think, enough salt inside those little pyramids that they have that could maybe take care of one sidewalk outside of a church, and then after that, everybody's on their own.
Yep. Oh gosh, it was nasty. Okay, so sorry, we completely derailed that. But
No, you're fine.
so you're in the Dallas area, and there's
Yes.
probably a pretty good reason that you're in the Dallas area.
Yes, I'll give you, I guess, the 60-second rundown.
Yeah.
So I've been an actor my entire life. I got my first start in theater when I was 4 years old. That took me on a wild, and I guess rip torrent of a journey. I did mention that I went to Florida for a while, lived there. I actually worked at Disney World as a character and parade performer. Couldn't say that I played Goofy or I played Sully. I had to say I was friends with Goofy or friends with Sully or best friends with Woody. Had to learn all their signatures to make sure that the show element stayed real for every guest who had an autograph book. That brought me back to Illinois. Shortly thereafter, ended up getting role as one of the key holders in a show called Playboy Club that was on NBC for a very short time. They unfortunately just went to the wrong market. But from there, it was like, well,
Yeah, my
oh,
idea of what Playboy Club is probably different than what the show was.
yeah, they'd definitely have to darken any of the windows inside any restaurant that was going to have that just playing in the background along with the Jets and the Knicks. Um, but shortly thereafter, it was like, well, I want to make a professional push into this because I'd done musical theater my entire life up into my 20s. And so now this is around, I'd say like 24ish. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to push all in on this. And that took me out to Nashville, where I met my wife. I thought Nashville was going to be a big hub for voiceover. My mom had signed me up for a voiceover class along with my brother, my dad, and my best buddy Greg. And she more or less, she called me up one day and goes, I signed you up for this class. I'll hear no bones about it. You get down there, have fun. Well, that made me really fall in love with the possibility of doing that as a career. And I was a big fan of anime growing up, Dragon Ball Z and Samurai Champloo and all them. So when I went out to Nashville, I thought, hey, this will be great. There's going to be a studio on every corner. I can do my voice work here. Nothing, just music in Nashville.
Yep.
But through all the turmoil and the pitfalls that I hit out there, reaching up to touch rock bottom, it felt like it sometimes. I met my now wife, Kylie. We have a beautiful baby boy. And I wouldn't trade the world for all those rough experiences because they all led us down here to the Dallas-Fort Worth area to this perfect present moment. I got to start with an awesome agency here in the DFW area called the Campbell Agency. The gals and the guys over there, they are just bulldogs in the industry. And shortly after signing on with them, I had my first time stepping in through the doors at Funimation. Um, During my time there, I got to do everything from, Bits and Walla to some larger characters like Kendo Rappa and My Hero Academia. Ideo, he's another pugilist. I tend to get the really brawly guys, not to be confused with Broly.
Well, that's because as you have a rare anime voice actor voice in that you don't sound like
Oh, go
a
on.
12-year-old child.
Yeah,
And
right.
look, I'm friends with some of the guys who do, so it's fine.
Sure.
But no, it's a lot of the anime voices, right? They're these guys who are way up in the tenor range
Oh,
when they're
yeah.
performing, and you don't have that. You're deeper than that. You're down in the baritones.
Yeah, no, when these plums dropped, I think my voice hit the ground along with them back when I was 12 or 13 years old.
Ladies.
It's like, "Hey, dad." Whoa. Hmm. I don't think they'll take me for a second soprano anymore.
Right. So now you always have to play like an old man with lots of muscles hidden under a nondescript looking shirt that can
Right?
like rip out of it. Right.
Or I could do what the father from Corky Romano just, and my son, he can't read at all. He can't read a stop sign coming, you freaking retard. Daddy loves you.
Yes. Very good. Very good.
But yeah, the journey has taken me on quite a whirlwind. Lots of ups and downs, but I've met such an incredible community of people here. When we first moved here, we didn't know anybody, obviously. Like when you move to a new place, especially if it's just you, your wife, and your cats going somewhere, you have nobody in your back pocket. Well, we ended up doing a play at a little theater out in Plano called the Art Center Theater, and we did the show Reefer Madness.
Oh God. Wait,
Oh man.
like a live version of the like fake documentary thing that they did?
Yes. Well, they did a musical to it. And I got to play the lecturer who's the guy giving the whole setup to parents, like, oh, deadly is the communists creeping up our shores, turning all our children into hooligans and whores.
What? I didn't know this existed, and now I want it. I want to have it. I want
Check
to
it
have it
out.
played.
Kristen Bell stars in it. It's fantastic. But we
Wait,
ended up doing that.
Kristen Bell stars in
Chris,
it?
she does. It's
Okay.
amazing.
Oh,
There's actually a lot of big names and some relatively, I guess, no-name people who I want to say were more popular in Broadway. It's been a long time since I've checked in on Broadway to see who's who. But it was a smattering of old and new. So it was a very fun show. But from that, we met what I consider now our DFW family and the people that have stuck with us throughout the years, been through us with thick and thin. Man, as the good book says, better is a friend who is near than a brother who is far away. And I'm living that out every day. These people, they hold me up like a rock.
yeah, and I guess maybe we should talk a little bit about why you might need some holding up from time to time.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the first time you stepped through the doors at Funimation. But if I'm not mistaken, those calls have been less than frequent as of late.
They have, starting at about, well, let's see, my first time walking through there would have been back in 2017, July. And I had kind of the very, very typical journey that most newcomers to the biz have, where it's like you start off doing bits in Walla. And for anybody who doesn't know what Walla is, anytime you see an anime or a show where there's baseball sounds, or they're in a restaurant, you hear people talking and chit chatting. Usually there's just three or four of us in a booth, and we'll record just idle chatter. And then we'll loop that several times and it fills out all the sounds. So you start off with that, and you're like guy 4D getting killed on the battlefield, or your shopkeeper 3C shooing angry patrons out of your store. Well,
Right. Can we get a battlefield death sound? Like a
maybe take your cans off. It was let's see here. Or if, or I guess I can give, for anybody out there who's a big My Hero fan, I'll give you Rappa's. Here comes the paint screen.
Okay. I've never watched it, so that is completely out of context for me. I love it. I love it.
I call him my beast from the east.
There you
But
go.
I had very much that journey of, you start and you have to work and build and build and build. And a couple years in, I had the privilege of being able to shadow several of the directors over there to learn the directing position. Was having a wonderful time with that. I was made officially the assistant director for the show Fire Force. Got to finish that first season out. I got to work on No Guns Life, Hatana Illusion, One Piece. Um, in October last year, ran afoul with a former friend and colleague of mine over a fundamental difference of opinion over the coronavirus, its place of origin, China,
Uh-oh.
and what
I mean, are you sure it's from China?
I'm fairly 150% certain that it's from China.
Okay. Well, I haven't read any studies about it or anything. I don't
No.
know that.
Yeah.
For me, it could have come from, like Portland.
There's been enough smog in the air there, considering all the cinders that have been afloat. I'm sure the carbon footprint there is something akin to when that meteorite wiped out all the dinosaurs. So it
Oof.
very well could have been there. But he didn't take me calling the Kung flu the Chinese coronavirus too well, and as a
Ooh.
result, we ended up having a conversation after that. I had been called a racist on this post that I put up on Facebook, so I pulled the thing down because I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and take abuse, and I'm not going to apologize for what I said. I stand by it. Well, a conversation that I thought was going to be just between the two of us ended up not being just the two of us, and
Mm.
shortly thereafter, it seemed like all the work dried up, and I
Now,
took it in stride.
to be clear, we're not naming names. We're not
Nope.
doing anything like that because there's no purpose in that. But to be clear, this is someone within the industry who's got some sort of, I don't know if they have
Yes.
sway or just enough connections or whatever, that your phone calls drying up doesn't seem like an unrelated coincidence.
Yeah, and I'm definitely one who, like, I don't like to speculate. But weeks later, I catch wind of more people talking about very specific talking points from within that conversation. So it was a bit disheartening because I had a really great rapport with this person up to this point. But skipping ahead several months, I had been into Funimation and Okratron sparingly for games and shows and whatnot. And honestly, I'd never ever had an issue with anybody at either of the studios. All my experiences there have been very great. They've been wonderful. Depending on whatever director I was working with, who would cast me in this, that, and the other, and vice versa. It was kind of a blindside to think that my integrity that I've been showing throughout the years somehow didn't measure up to a comment that I had put up to try and stem all the fear that I saw online with everything regarding COVID-19. Because we've been stuck indoors for up to 10 months of that time, being
Yeah.
told, hey, it was 2 weeks to slow the spread, and now we don't know if we're ever getting out of here. Everybody's dialed in on Tiger King. Tiger King was king. And after having so much fear just pumped into us for so long, I thought, you know what? I see a message of hope out here, and I want to share it. It was the coalition of doctors that Breitbart ended up filming at the nation's capital. And they were talking about the use of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin.
Which
And
I have to do this, so I
yeah,
don't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good.
YouTube, to YouTube. The censors. And by the way, yes, guys, my backup channel and my media channel have been deleted by YouTube. I'm working on that behind the scenes right now because I think it's a mix up. But until I get some more information, I posted about it on Locals. I'll mention it here, but I'm working on both of those things right now. But for YouTube, we are not making any comment or anything about the effectiveness or even the usefulness of hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. We don't know anything about it. We're not doctors. We're just merely recounting that there was a video that talked about these things as the subject of this story. We're not saying that this is medical advice. And if you're getting your medical advice from YouTube, please don't get it from, please don't, and go get it from your own medical healthcare professional. Sorry, I have to do that because
No, it's fine.
yeah, they're super super uptight about the potential for misinformation. Even when you don't say anything wrong, you have to give that countervailing statement. So
I have noticed how uptight they can be.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, you're getting a lot of questions about the mug. So
well, I gotta get my tea now real quick.
what's in the mug?
So I've got me some instant coffee because I threw my Black Rifle coffee out. Um,
Good man.
and and in here I've got me some black tea there with a little bit of honey. It's a bit saltier than I'm used to though. I'm not
Yeah,
quite sure what happened with that.
yeah. It be that way.
But yeah, no, I had seen this video of these doctors talking. I thought this sounds really hopeful, and I think people need to hear at least a little bit of hope right now. After such this deluge of fear and frustration that we'd had for so long. And I post that up, and it was like all people could see was party lines.
Yep.
And like on its face, I think it's criminal to withhold good from whom it is due based on somebody's difference of opinion with regards to whether you lean to the right or to the left, because like the old story of the Good Samaritan, you had a priest and you had a money changer walk around this poor guy who was almost beaten to death on the road, and then one guy who was diametrically opposed to them, who was seen at that point as being, I guess, what they referred to in Harry Potter as a mudblood, the Samaritan, a half
Right.
Jew. He's the only one who takes this poor guy in. Not only does he take care of him, but he also leaves enough money there to the innkeeper to say, "Hey, any other bills this guy racks up, it's on me. If he runs this tab up, I'll pay for it when I get back." But you see people online. I heard a really sinister story. This gal, she was talking about one of her friends, a relative of hers, is really, really, really hard firm on the right. Like Trump 2024, 2028, 2032, like full steam ahead.
Yeah.
And this gal, one of her friends had come down with the coronavirus. And, it was one of these instances where she had just kind of mentioned it in passing to, to her aunt. And I think something along the lines of like, "Hey, would you mind saying a prayer for my friend? They caught the Wu flu." And her aunt's response immediately was, "Who'd she vote for?"
Mm.
And of course, that's a hard response, and like it leaves at least leave me clutching my metaphorical pearls, because why should that matter? Why should it matter who somebody voted for when it comes down to the person's very life now being in jeopardy for a disease that we knew very little about at that
Right.
time?
And we see this, I mean, we see this over and over on Twitter, particularly, which is Twitter is where decency has gone to die.
Yeah.
And it didn't just die, it got in a Swedish death pod or whatever and was slingshot into the moon or into the sun, right? Like
Oh
it
yeah.
was they did yeah, they did not Twitter does not take kindly to good conversation. And so now you will frequently see, well, they're Trump supporters, so who cares? Uh,
Yes. Oh my
and it's like,
gosh.
I mean, that's a bit strong. Like it's a
Oh
you
yeah.
so but anyway, so yeah, so this happens. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole mess that I thought was going to be this really hopeful story ends up just being a total disaster. Not from my standpoint, because I know I serve a higher power. I know that I'm playing for keeps. This isn't the end of the game. I'm playing for the long game. So I sit back, and it was really frustrating because nobody reached out to me. Nobody bothered to check and get verification. Like, hey, I'm hearing these things about you. What's going on? Come to find out that this conversation's been going on about you for a while.
It
So
always has been. Have you
yeah,
noticed that? Like,
yeah,
because I've heard that line before that, oh, well, people have been talking about this forever. And it's like, well, they have? it's kind of, it's kind of
yeah.
a jackassery thing to do.
Yeah, and it's like, well, okay, if you're my friend, then why wouldn't you at least come to me and, bring it up? Maybe say, "Hey, I hear it's been said, but I wanna get it from you before I level any kind of judgment one way or the other." Well, I let all that go, and I thought, I don't know if this person really has the pull that they claim to have, but if a conversation's been going on, then I'm guessing there's more people that I have somehow offended with my hopeful message to the masses. No good deed goes unpunished, I guess. Uh, but I let it go. Now we skip ahead almost a full year later and come to find out that there's still murmurings going around. There's still that poison that's just floating on the surface of the water, much like a very thin but noticeable layer of flaming oil. And again, it was one of these moments where I didn't want to let it get to me because again, I serve the higher power, so I know I'm playing for keeps, but I ended up losing a lot of sleep over it. And it was still the idea that people that I really, really had put a lot of stock in and really, really trusted a lot, just radio silence from. And so ended up putting up this big post on my Twitter page, just addressing the entire
Uh-oh. We've got,
issue. Of course,
we've,
I didn't name any names out the order of our conversation. And
oh, hold
oop,
on 1 second.
did I
You're,
drop out there?
yeah, you dropped for a second and the video is catching up to resyncing with the audio.
Oh,
So,
oh wow. So it's probably like a good old fashioned Godzilla movie right now.
yeah, it's better now, but it was, yeah,
Okay.
for a minute there, like you played at like 4x speed. You went straight into ludicrous speed of speaking. You were the Micro Machines guy. It was
Oh my
impressive.
gosh. Um, well, let's see. Yeah, I guess I'll step back 10 seconds and re-hit it. But
Yeah,
anyway,
please do.
yeah, long story short, there were still murmurings going on. And I had thought, hey, this is done. It's over. If Robert Downey Jr. can get caught with a briefcase full of cocaine and a hooker and go away for a couple of years, come back, rehab his character, maybe I can do the same thing. Um, the mindset that I had, though, through 2020 was I was still stuck on that people pleasing train. And
Mhm.
just the nature of entertainment, you kind of have to set aside your morals if you're going to certain forms of entertainment. Like there's plenty of faith-based casting out there where I'm sure they probably pray before every single time they go and do a shoot. But for a large part of it, you have to you have to either not say something or say all the right things. So
I feel like, and this is a divergent thing, but and this is just my impression. I feel like faith-based entertainment is actually has a risk of exploitation of the artists. Because I feel like, like if you take Christian songwriters, right, and Christian bands,
yes.
like they'll create this music, and I feel like they're expected to distribute and license their music freely to everybody who wants to do it, or every radio station that plays exclusively Christian music. And I feel like they are almost maybe limited by their production labels to have their music break out into just pop genres or other radio stations that would fit the genre but for the Christian title. And so you see really rarely that they break out. Like you might hear a Casting Crown song, one of them somewhere. You might hear Francesca Battistelli. She had like one or two songs break out, but
Mhm.
generally speaking, like some of these people, even though some of the songs that they're doing are Christian, but kind of vague about it. Um,
Christianese.
right. They're still not getting out of it. And I feel like, you talked about some of those production companies. Have you ever seen or run into, or can you confirm any of that? For me, this is just my personal
Oh
sort of
yeah.
thought on it.
Absolutely. Actually, a close friend of mine. I'm not going to mention the band,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they were a headlining Christian band, and this is back when I was still in the Nashville area. So music, 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 music. The guy mentioned that even back when he was touring, they were expected. They had to, even when they were out doing 3 shows a week, they were still expected to go to the gym for a certain amount of time every single week. They had to get their bodies into a certain shape. They had to have a certain look. So one of them had
God's
like
shape.
Yeah, yeah, the shape of the Lord. If we were going, I guess by Septuagint standards, we'd have to call it the Greek physique. But he like even one of them, he had his hair done a certain way, and so they were expected to keep maintaining that look. One guy had really thick glasses. He was expected to always have that same exact iconic pair of glasses. But at the same time, beyond the outward appearance that they had, and beyond the music and the songs that they had in their catalog of songs, everything else behind the scenes was just total bedlam. Um, he ended up eventually leaving the band, but he talked about how when he was there, he was such a huge partier, constantly doing drugs and smoking weed, and then getting out in front of all these people inside these huge shows that they would play at, and being like, "Hey, Jesus is awesome. God loves you too," and then
Wrong.
going right.
That's not what he was doing. He was doing this. He's doing, Jesus is awesome. God loves you. Here we go. Come on now. Where do they train that? Where do they do that fading call out speaking method that every freaking Christian performer uses? Drives me nuts. Like,
Oh my god. Yeah, like it's almost like Shatner, but if Shatner had a reverb that was just implanted in his ear. I know exactly what you're talking. But yes, I can confirm for a lot of people, in any entertainment sphere, there is uh, I wanna, like, even mention Disney because they're so wrapped up in preserving the show and the veneer that oftentimes the heart of it isn't being addressed. And
yeah.
so, thankfully, my buddy, he ended up getting out of that band. He went on to, actually become a pastor, and, he's, like, totally on fire for God. He's got a beautiful family, and he went on to do something even better with his life. He still, of course, does music, but he let go of all the other garbage that went along with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's
can confirm.
that's good. Okay, so sorry, let's get back
Yeah,
to
no worries.
your story here.
You don't have to apologize to me. We're just having fun.
I'm gonna go
Um,
Canadian today. I'm gonna apologize for everything. I'm sorry.
that's
Sorry,
good.
eh?
That's good. But I guess so we're like 10 months into the year and then go to I guess present now. And I had seen that you were showing some of your live streams of the Rittenhouse trial. And we were trying to find some good coverage of it because I like watching typically Crowder's streams of any like voting coverage or news of that nature. But he does a lot of talking over things, and I knew that if I was going to get any kind of real insight, I might as well get it from a lawyer squad or a parliament of lawyers. So so we hopped on to see your stream, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. There's a panel of 10 professionals here, all practicing or did practice for decades or more. I thought this is kind of insight that nobody's going to get anywhere else. I don't see this on CNN. I don't see this on MSNBC. I don't see this on Fox. I don't see this anywhere. And I had been talking with my wife for a while because I've been wanting to join the culture war as somebody who is given to, I guess, a certain measure of linguistic ability. I know that I can explain things to people in a way that makes it make sense to them. And if I have to pull for some $4 or $5 words, then by golly, I'll do it. So I thought, I've got to get into this fight, but I've got to gracefully step into this. And so my buddy and I, we started a channel show on his show or on his YouTube channel called Hot Button Co-op. His channel is Power Keg Greg, but the show itself is called Hot Button Co-op. And it's kind of like a weekend recap of the news just
Wait,
between two
Power Cat
friends.
Greg?
Power Keg Greg.
I've seen that guy like a million times in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yep. He's
Okay, okay.
guy's my best friend. And we do a show on his channel on Fridays at from 7 to 9. It's called Hot Button Co-op. And I maintain that some of the best conversations I've ever had with anybody, bar none, were when we were gunning down aliens online or when we were trying to squash noobs at 2 in the morning. And those are some of the most impactful conversations to me. And so we're sitting there spitballing one day. I said, what if we combined a weekend recap of just the news in the world, whether it be involving the church or politics or just world news in general, with playing a couch cooperative video game. And so we did. And I saw your stream pop up and I'm like, oh man, this needs to be shared. I want to say something. And I talked to my lady
You've
and
made a critical mistake.
I know I stepped in it now. But I was talking to my lady and I said, I said, baby, you gotta let the leash, you gotta take me off the leash. And she goes, all right, you get the show started, leash comes off. I said, okay, I want your word. leash comes off. There's no putting Pandora back in the box. And she went, you have my word. So I was like, great. So I started firing off little things here and there, the whole let's go Brandon thing when everybody was doing that. I made some meme of Norm Macdonald back from his own weekend recap on SNL where he's like, I don't know about this Brandon guy, but people really seem to like him. Well, I finally share your stream on day 3. And I shared your stream for the same reason that I had shared that video about the Capitol Hill doctors. I saw here I think not just a good message, but I saw a cutting through of the nonsense, and I saw people actually giving a solid play-by-play. And like, let's face it, whether you lean to the right or the left, we all have our own biases, and we're all going to have our own bents. But at least you guys were upfront and truthful about it and real about it. So I was like, you know, even if I get burned for this, I'm going to share this because more people need to see this. And if I claim to want to be a part of the culture war, then might as well put my best foot out there. And so I think I said something to the effect of I tweeted out your video and I said something like, this is the best, what I say, like, this is the best, most interesting coverage I've seen of this trial yet. Check it out. And because of prior events, people they do that association thing, like, we're everybody is 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon. Well, I'm 1 degree from a dumpster fire that just set the anime world on fire a couple years ago. Well,
sorry.
It's all right.
Look, if I'm gonna get blamed for it all, I'm gonna take it.
Shoot, my cup is overflowing. You're making my cup spill here. But anyway, people they drew the association, and then I just got dumped on for about 48 straight hours. And I'm very much a person, as I mentioned on Cressida's stream the other night, that when it comes to creating art, and when I say separate, like, because I can separate the art from the artist, and when I say that, I mean the individual person who's lending either their voice or their talents or their skill to an individual piece of art. It doesn't have to be the overarching umbrella. Like if I say, oh, I really like this movie that Tom Selleck is in, but it's from Lionsgate. Maybe people have a problem with Lionsgate, but I can still enjoy the role that Tom Selleck played.
Sure.
Well, the same principle goes for anybody who I would vote for. I don't have to love everything about the platform they're running on to be able to throw my support behind their want for building a wall, or their want for health insurance reform, or their want for making affordable home lending, stuff like that. And I looked at your channel much the same way. I'm like, hey, I may not agree with every single thing that Nick Rekieta says, but that doesn't stop me from recognizing the value in this stream. And people didn't want to see that. All they saw was red, 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 red. So I was just getting the horns.
Yeah. You have to understand that many of those people have had their words. This is actually what's happened. This is well, at least my version of the truth, and it's my truth, so therefore it's the truth. I learned that from them, but this is my truth. These people have had their words and their actions analyzed, examined, and returned back with the biggest mirror that they could have pointed at them, pointed right back at them. And what they found was this large amount of hypocrisy and hollowness to what they have done and said throughout the years, when it suddenly came down to this massive train of groupthink against a particular target. And so once, and again, not to get specific into the situation, but
yeah.
What happened was something that has been happening for a little while in all sorts of what I'll call the nerd industries, right? Someone gets quietly deleted. They may make a little fuss, it's like a big lake and one person drowns in the middle of it. It's like, sure, there's some bouncing and ripples and everybody's on the boat going, sorry, buddy, we can't help you. Or maybe they threw him in the water, whatever it is, however you want to take that analogy. That happens. But then the people, out on the shore don't do anything. The problem that they had was that the timing and everything worked out just right. They had this target that had a very dedicated fan base who weren't 100% ready to throw him under the bus. And then he teamed up in some way with not just me. I say teamed up. That's going to get taken out of context. He ended up being invited onto a show by me and declined, but he chose to speak to me a couple days later about that. And that ended up with my voice bringing, like, the guy's drowning in the middle of the water and I'm on a jet ski and I take it back to shore and say, hey, this guy's drowning in the middle of the water. So suddenly those ripples are compounded by this message, this bullhorn. And the people in the boat didn't ever want that to happen. And so now all the people on the shore are looking at the people on the boat going, hey, wait a minute. All the reasons you pushed this guy off the boat, like you're on Twitter, you're a public person. I can go back and look at things that you've done. I can look at pictures that you've posted.
Absolutely.
And once that happened, people started to notice things that, we've all done things in our past that maybe some people wouldn't want out there. And that's not saying that they're even bad, right? Like I wore JNCOs.
It'd just be embarrassing.
Right. I wore JNCOs in high school.
Oh, I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Seriously, fully justified. No one would think lesser. But it's like it doesn't matter. Once those things come creeping back, there's a guy right now who's dealing with some of that stuff about a video that he made in an airport bathroom. That stuff comes back and the same standards start to get applied and things aren't so comfortable anymore. They got really mad about that. And I didn't even orchestrate that. I just boosted the message. Hey, there's this guy drowning in the water. And a whole bunch of people decided what to do with it. And that signal was never supposed to be boosted. And so, yeah, sorry that you shared a video from me, but there's a whole grip of people in Flower Mound, Texas, who are not happy that I exist.
Yeah, and I can understand their ire that they have. I get it. For this, it was like the tribalism that you see from people nowadays when they fear their babies being taken away from them. That's what I find to be so unnerving. And I remember even talking to Cressida about this, that we live in this day and age where you've got instant access to anything you want: food, a place to go watch a movie, a car to get you to that movie, a car to get you back from the movie, a place to stay, anything. That people they've also adopted a bit of a bravado that goes along with suddenly having access and instant gratification to everything, to where they'll say the most outlandish things that would make their grandmother ashamed. I wouldn't say their mother, because you're 1 degree of separation away from people who have been essentially in the 21st century since the late 90s with the advent of cell phones and then the World Wide Web. So they say these things as though there's no foreseeable repercussion to them for having said whatever was just boiling up inside of them that needed to get out without thinking about it beforehand. And being that our online persona, I maintain, is inseparable from our real life personage, in the short term, they're not expecting any kind of repercussion back on that. They're not expecting any kind of waylaying in the future from something terrible that is said in the past. Not that I think we're a kind of people that should keep a record of wrongs. Like even 1 Corinthians 13 says, hey, love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. Love forgives, but they don't expect that you're going to have your employers online checking up on what you might say, or a potential employer going, hey, I want to go online before I hire this guy who said all the right things in my interview, and let's just see if he's online, I don't know, skinning bunnies live on Facebook, because that would probably make me not want to hire him to go work at Chuck E. Cheese's.
I've seen that Russian YouTube video, the survival one, where the guy catches the bunny and he skins it and eats it. Have you seen that one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that thing's awesome. The guy's like special forces. He's like, here's how you catch bunny and eat dinner, right? And he catches this rabbit and like breaks its neck. And then there's this way that you fling their corpse a little bit.
You gotta snap it. You have to ring it. Yes.
Yeah, it skins them. And then he's like, then you eat. I'm like, I'm gonna try this at some point. I don't know how you catch the rabbit, but I'm gonna do it.
He's like, my name is Dimitri. I teach you how to sneak up on unique rabbit. You have to sneak up on it. You catch a
No.
tame rabbit the tame way. But
We make good food out here in the wild.
in Soviet
Everything wild in
Russia,
Siberia.
in Siberia, the bunny hunt you.
Yeah. No,
But
now on actually now on Instagram DMs the bunnies hunt you. I'm pretty sure
oh
that's
my gosh,
that's where it happens.
yeah, that's
My
that's
name is
the next level of
Tatiana.
gifting.
Sure, it is Bruce.
Am I getting catfished right now? Because I'm not going to go and take an international flight and have to get
The
rectally
answer to
searched to
that
go and find out
question
that you're going
is
to beat me up.
yes. Am I
Yes,
getting catfished right now? The answer to that question is always yes.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, it was one of these. I don't want to say it was a bottle rocket moment, but it felt like, I don't know if you felt this, because I know I did feel this, and this was partially why I really wanted to step into the arena. But over 2020, I feel like there was a massive buildup for a lot of people, and it was like all of us, again, to use the same idiom, we were like powder kegs walking around. And when people saw something that they could feel like they could be a part of, whether you were for one tribe or the other, they just launched in on it. And so I was getting all kinds of wild hate for sharing your video. And it was much the same thing that happened when I had shared that video back in 2020, where people were saying, I won't watch this because of XYZ. I refuse to watch this because of X, Y, and Z. I can't bring myself to watch this because of X, Y, and Z, completely ignoring the fact that there was very valuable information to be seen and heard. And I sat there and I didn't respond to anything, because I'm one where once I concoct a post or a tweet or something, I fire it off into the ether and I don't look back. I typically don't respond to comments. I might thumb something up or retweet it, but once I've said all I want to say, I don't really have anything else left to give on that. Well, after that 48-hour mark, I saw the opposite side of the fan base actually really come to my aid there and start going toe to toe. And they did so with so much more eloquence and so much more breadth of just verboseness. Like, they had some really great words there. I was watching some of the comments go, and I thought the whole thing was hilarious, because kind of like the comedian from The Watchmen, I guess I do have some sort of I don't want to say sick satisfaction, but I guess I do enjoy watching people act just like you think they might act. Um, but with all of that, what I found to be just, I guess, the crowning little jewel on top of everything was that it stood as a test of, I guess it stood to show, how do I say this? It stood to show for them anyway that my character was somehow subpar, because I could share a link from somebody who was involved in a situation that never even involved me. Um, and even beyond that, because I did, suddenly I have people saying, I hope you never work in anime again. I hope you don't get to do any more projects. I hope, I used to think that you were great. Now I find out that you're a villain in real life. Get out of our community, asshole.
A villain.
I know.
How many puppies have you eaten this morning?
Oh goodness, I lost count after 15. I've only got one blender and one ladle, so it took a while.
So okay, so you make the mistake of tweeting my show out, which is great, and I'm glad that you did. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But it ends up with people hating you because of me. Like, you have no idea at the time. Did you even know anything about like who I was or what I did with
I did.
with Vic? Okay.
Mhm.
So
I did.
you know something about it, and you're like, well, I'm going to tweet this thing out anyway.
Yep. It was
Okay,
honestly,
well, that's a mea culpa right there. That's your
Well,
fault.
and that's why I say, like, I'm sure I'll catch heat for this in some capacity, but the heat that I catch is worth it to me for that hunt for truth. And I do maintain this too, that anybody that sticks around with me, if I'm speaking the truth in so much as I'm not ever willfully lying, those are the people that mean the most to me. And the longer you don't stand on principle, the longer that you don't fight for truth in so much as you don't ever willfully lie, the more crummy and garbage individuals are going to be in your life, just leeching off of this otherwise beautiful life essence that you're trying so hard to keep burgeoning, but is being pulled away from you because you have so many crummy individuals. And so I watched so many people take off. I've seen my subscribers take a dump on YouTube. I saw my followers take a dump everywhere else. And
Wait a minute. What's your YouTube channel?
it's Angel Legend. It's all one word, ANGELEGEND.
Well, I'm gonna add this.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
At Angel Legend.
Yep.
No, that's
It's
I might
a
have
little red angel face with a halo, if you find it. What I used to do on there was a lot of Halo prop and costume building. So you'll find on the channel several sets of tutorials which teach you how to go from start to finish, how to make a full-on Halo cosplay, the Master Chief's suit of armor. And
Wait a minute. Do you use like Ava foam for that?
I do. Yep, I do.
So
They call it, I
Angel
guess they call it foam smithing.
Angel Legends. Wait, that's Angel Legends. That's not you.
Angel Legend.
My
It's
bad.
like, I'll tape it to you or type it to you.
I gotta find it here.
Yep.
No, that's not it. Your videos, your stuff is hard to find here on
Uh-oh.
YouTube.
I
It
got the
doesn't
shadow-
like.
I got the shadow ban. They came for me.
There's a couple Angel Legends. Do you have a link to it? Can you send it to me in our private chat?
I'll do it right now.
Oh, I put 2 L's in.
Oh.
There, I found you. Okay. I think I can add it now.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Guys, what you want to do is check out Eric here on YouTube for sure. I'm putting the link in the description so you can check out his channel, get some subscriptions going his way, check out his videos. And if you like what you see, go ahead and watch some more. That's the trick. That's the trick.
That.
So one thing I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned that you wanted to add your voice to the culture war, which I have learned is a very dangerous phrase, apparently. But what do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean to me? Because that's an expression, but I don't know what someone means by that.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned already, I'm a person who really has to stand for truth. And it's hard to do a lot of times, especially if you're a person who is a very empathetic person. You obviously you don't want to hurt people's feelings, but you don't want to stand idly by and watch those who feel like they don't have a voice just get crushed in just the cacophony of craziness that we're bombarded with on a 24/7 basis, whether it be through the news, social media, news media, on your Facebook page. Even if you have your Facebook page closed down, I'm sure you've got a gaggle of friends on there that likes to bemoan everything that you might believe in or stand for. And when it comes, like my first mission, first and foremost, and even on my YouTube channel, what it used to be all about props. Well, it's now taken a shift. I have a podcast on there now called the Tough Love Podcast, because first and foremost, I'm a Christian. Second, a husband. Third, a father. And as a Christian man, I fell in love with apologetics, but also history and biblical history. And one of the things that was becoming really irksome to me was seeing so many people's misunderstanding of the word, and so many people's misunderstanding of events that took place back in the Old Testament, that anybody looking at them out of context, it looks like the worst tragedy ever. But given the context, given the information, it makes sense and is able to be rectified. Well, my first mission is, I'd say, to the found first. And part of what I wanted to lend my voice to was helping right the wrongs of the current progressive church, this cheap grace that we're being preached to or preached about from the pulpit, where it doesn't matter what you do on a daily basis, God still loves you. Grace exists, so just keep on being you.
Oh God, I hope you're wrong.
Oh yeah, no, and they were wrong. Because
no, I hope you're wrong.
Oh, I'm wrong. Well, the Apostle Paul tells us in Romans 6. I'm paraphrasing. He says, "Look, we know that grace exists, but should we still continue on acting like a bunch of douchebags? By all means, let it not be so." And more or less, what it boils down to is, on your best day, God accepts you. On your worst day, He delights in you. And unfortunately, right now, there is a very much a watering down of the principles that this country was built on, the Judeo-Christian values that so many of our founders fought to the death for. And so when I see people trying to cut the legs off of America as though we're built on the dead bodies of those who were less fortunate and weren't able-bodied enough to fight off us and our grabbing hands, I see that and I go, there is something else that needs to be said here. And I don't see as many people as I would deem necessary stepping in to fight back against that noise, because I do love this country. I love my three values are faith, family, finance. If I have to throw a fourth one inside there, it's my country. And so in lending my voice inside the culture war, I really want to help set the church straight, because without, at least for the church that's here inside America, without them having their head on right, and without them at least having their moral compass pointed the right direction, they can't hope to make a positive change in their communities. And over quarantine, being that we were all so disconnected physically, everybody was plugged in socially online. Well, some of us, we put our time to good use, and I was able to form a Bible study with a number of my friends. And as a result of that, we were able to start a homeless outreach. We were able to put our money where our mouth is. And I know that oftentimes what we were giving to homeless shelters or to homeless people on the street was probably pennies for us, but I know that it helps to change the community around me. And so my overarching desire is that in lending my voice to the culture war, not in a malicious and savage way, but in a very calculated and cutting way when I need to be, I'm hoping that I will give somebody else the encouragement that they need to go out and make their world, make their community, make their neighborhood beautiful, just for the sake of goodness, without having to go, who'd that gal vote for? Or what party
Right.
line are they on? Or did they get me a present for my birthday party when I was 8?
Okay, so this leads me to my next question. And I'm going to ask it in just a second because there's some super chats that I want to get to. One, because finance is that third one.
Yep.
But no, I like to answer the $20 and up super chats as soon as possible. And some have been kind of stewing for a while. Red Mage says, Eric just looked up your roles list and man, you've done a lot already. Have you been to a lot of anime cons and which ones have been fun for you? Any crazy con stories to share?
Ooh, I've only done 2 anime cons. I've done Plus Ultra Con, that was in person, and then I did Funimation Con 2020, and that was virtual.
Virtual cons are garbage.
Well, it was fun because
okay. I need the inside dirt on this.
I'll tell you. I got to play inside a My Hero Academia One's Justice 2 tournament for this online concert, and I got to take on one of the heroes from my childhood, the voice of adult Gohan, Kyle Hebert. I get to pit my character Kendo Rappa against his character Fat Gum, and it was all announced by Kenny Omega, the pro wrestler. So I mean, you take that for what it's worth.
How much did the voice actors hate the virtual con?
Oh goodness, I honestly,
because they're not making the money, right? Like when you go to the regular cons, you bring your merch, you sit down, people come up, they buy your picture, you sign it, you do a picture for an extra $10 or whatever it is, whatever the pricing structure is, and that's like, because let's be real, like voice acting in anime in America doesn't pay.
No, it does not keep your lights on. It'll feed your soul, but it's not going to feed your stomach.
Right. And so the way they have fixed this is they've subsidized and outsourced the salary of voice actors to the voice actor. Use these, and it's kind of a neat system if you think about it, because they kind of have free license to use the recognition of the role to get these appearances and then to market and monetize those appearances.
Oh, yeah.
And in a lot of industries, you might not be able to do things in the same way due to intellectual property and all that stuff. But anyway, so that's kind of the weird symbiosis they have. They're like, well, the fans will buy the anime, which will pay the anime studio, and then the fans will pay the actors because the studio won't. So that's great. Sorry, I'm a little cynical about this.
No,
but,
you're good. You're good.
But the virtual cons, like I can't imagine there was hardly any money in the virtual cons.
Not for me. It was more just the fun of getting to take on one of my childhood heroes. But I do know that there are several, and just given the nature of 2020, people realized really quickly, oh crap, we can have our employees work remotely. We don't got to go and heat the building in the morning. We don't have to make sure we're providing coffee for them. We can just have them clock in when they want, so long as they get their job done between now and Friday. We're good. Well, a lot of other places were able to then make for various actors, not just voice actors, but actors across the board, a way to get their art to fans from a platform almost like Etsy, but specifically just for like their headshots and their prints. So I'm sure a number of them probably made out pretty well. I mean, like I didn't make out at all, but I'm sure some of these bigger characters, these legacy roles, I'm sure they probably did. I'm probably not as good as they would in person.
Right.
But
Yeah, I can't imagine. I think like because what I saw was like the first virtual cons that came out in 2020 did really well. Because people are like, oh, cool, I don't have to leave my house to buy a hotel or whatever. And then by the third one, everybody's like, all the fans are like, this blows.
yeah, I see that. I see that a lot now because I know that up until a couple months ago, I was still seeing some virtual con stuff, and I know that were I a fan going to there, that's not enough for me. Because part of the big allure of going to a convention, I used to do a fair amount of cosplay, and so I would go as like a cosplay guest, or I'd lead a panel on how to make suits of armor. Um, the big allure for that is being able to be just in that zone, watching people walk around dressed as your
Right.
favorite characters from everything, being able to rub shoulders with your friends, talk video games, talk
Or,
nerddom.
as it may be, undressed as your favorite
Oh,
characters.
that too. I had a whole playlist of cosplay music videos that have been lost to the annals of my YouTube somewhere.
Okay, so do you use so you're like an expert in Ava foam then? Did I
I
ask
am.
you this?
Yeah, I am.
Because I meant to ask you that a little bit ago, and I don't think I did. So I learned about Ava foam the other day when
Okay.
Halloween came around, and we had to make some things for my kids. And
Ah.
because see, you're just like a little baby Christian with your one kid or whatever, and I have five, so I'm a grizzled veteran
Oh yeah, yeah.
of children. But and here's what they do. Hey, what do you guys want to be for Halloween this year? Because they normally do like a theme. Like
Okay.
last year, they all did Undertale characters, so we had to make costumes for Undertale, all the different characters, and that was
Very
fine.
cool.
And then we've done different things before. Like one year they were like medieval knights and ladies or whatever. This year they're like, no, we're not going to do a theme. Everybody's going to kind of come up with their own costume. It's like, great. Mom and dad don't have to do anything. 3 days before Halloween, or no, sorry, I'm a liar. It was 4 days before Halloween. They said, we all want to be different characters from My Singing Monsters.
Oh man.
And it's like, what the heck are we? How what are you talking about? We have to come up with these things. They got these instruments and stuff. It was brutal. So I learned about Ava foam. So that was fun.
Oh yeah,
But
that's a fun medium to work with if at least you have a heat gun and some hot glue and some super glue.
yeah, let's see. We did. Well, we didn't have a heat gun, but we had a hair dryer, and that worked
There you go,
just
that
fine.
works. Mhm.
But we were able to make it work, and it was cool. Like working with Ava foam was cool, but we had to learn it in like 10 seconds because you have to like shape it, let it cool, then we had to paint it.
Mhm.
It was a mess. Mandy Karavicius. I don't know how to.
Caravice.
That was Italian. This is like Lithuanian or something. Latvian? Lithuanian? I don't remember.
Latvian?
Mandy, I don't remember. Don't be mad at me. Says Nick, I need an interview. I was walking through Knoxville, Tennessee at midnight to get Chipotle when two black men wearing Biden hats assaulted me with chocolate syrup and stuck an afro comb in my hair and said, "This is Biden town."
Oh man.
Wait, were the black men actually Irish though? Were they actually white Irishmen
Oh my
that you had a potentially gay hand jobby relationship with at the bathhouse? I don't know.
god. Oh man. Mm.
Okay, here next. We have Lupu says, keep normies out of your hobbies. They ruin everything. Always gatekeep them until they have fully converted into a fan. Also, Nick, when are you going to have the Alex Jones of VTubers, Pipkin Pippa, on? I've never even heard of Pipkin Pippa, but get me a contact. That's the hardest thing about guests is just how do I contact them? If I can contact them, we can talk. I would love to. If they're the Alex Jones of VTubers, that sounds comical enough that I would like to talk to them. Renee Villarreal says, really like what this dude is saying about the word and how the church is not teaching properly. Oh yeah, you find that with frequency. I won't even get into it. Okay, here's a quick question. So based on what you've said, do you lay some, sorry, chat, this is way out there. Do you lay some of the failings of the modern church at the feet of Billy Graham? Yeah, I think it's a hard thing for evangelicals to come to terms with because, through the 80s and early 90s, they're really happy about what Billy Graham is doing, invigorating and revitalizing church. It's the third great awakening or whatever people were saying. And then now you look at it and it's like, but it really kind of simplified and watered down the message. And a lot of people weren't willing to go away from that watered down aspect of it.
It lost the heart. Now, so many churches, it boils down to, for the church body, this is what like the typical cookie cutter Christian looks like right now. I go to church on Sunday. I get 2 fast songs, 1 slow song. We get to say our declaration, all aloud like some weird cult. I get a clutch of verses from the pulpit. I get told 5 ways to a better such and such, 3 ways to renew your whatever walk. Then we have 1 song, we take communion, we go home, and I live like a douchebag the entire rest of the week. Come back on Sunday to refill my tank, and then I just rinse, lather, repeat.
I would say I wish that were me, but God, it is me.
Well, it's oh man, and this is a tough statistic, and it's been true for the longest time, but only about 4% of professing Christians actually read their Bible. And if we claim to be one way, but we act the opposite, there's a really, really favorite quote of mine, and it's in like one of my guilty pleasure movies. I can't tell you why I like this movie, but whenever it's on, I am glued to the TV. But
Debbie Does Dallas.
Oh, so a second movie, but it's the Rum Diaries with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and there's a moment inside there, him and his cohort at one point in the movie, they're high out of their gourds, and he's staring at this lobster tank, and the lobster looks at him, and he says he's having a conversation with the lobster, but the lobster says to him, "Human beings are the only creature on earth that claim a god, but yet the only creature to behave as though they have none. Does this world really belong to you?" And I let that sit with me for a while, because when I lived back in Nashville, before I met my wife, when I first got there, man, I was as far away as you could possibly get. I mentioned on Cress's channel the other day, I've had more fist fights than people have digits on their hands. I was
only 11.
Okay, then add your toes then. Well, how many fights have you had?
Look, here's I'm gonna quote Vin Diesel. 500.
Okay. And what was one thing you remembered?
Fights.
The headbutt?
That's the number of fights that it takes to be a tough guy. Did you ever see that movie?
I did. Knockaround Boys.
Knockaround Guys. Yeah, I love that movie. John Malkovich has the best line in it. He looks at Seth Green. He says, "You are unlikable."
That was honestly, that movie, I've never heard that punching sound effect, but it's when Vin Diesel has that guy doubled over in the bar and he's dropping bombs into his stomach, and it's like,
yeah.
And you're watching everybody just stare on in rapt horror, like, I kind of want to go, but I gotta fill my beer up first. This is interesting.
No, I've only been in like 2 fights. I'm not out here professing my fighting prowess. I did a fight club with a lot of friends, both.
So did I.
Before college, and then during college, had some fight clubs and did martial arts for years. But I'm not out here trying to fight anybody. I'm not out here trying to be a tough guy ever. Because now I'm old. I'm a broken down old man. And I don't want to break my hands or anything like that. And plus, I'm just too jovial to get into fights. Like, I'll just make fun of someone, and if they want to fight, then I'll call them dumb.
Well, you could. There you go. But yeah, I guess stepping back to it real quick, the whole thing with just the nature of Billy Graham's message that he had, because it started off really, really great, but that whole watering down, I feel like it gave a lot of credence for so many people to allow things in their life that they otherwise really shouldn't. And like, I love the way Paul puts it. He says, "Look, I'm not here to judge outside the church, because then I'd have to go outside the church. To paraphrase again, my call is to my brothers, and I'll let outside do whatever it wants to do. But that's where we get our line, in the world, but not of the world." Well, so much of Eastern mysticism got brought in to the church, and you have people, they claim that, oh, you've got a prayer language. Everybody's got a prayer language. At Bethel, they talk about, oh, you've got your own personal angels, or instead of tarot decks, we've got angel decks. We're doing holy yoga on the weekends, and it's taking a otherwise simplistic and sound message, and it's counterfeiting it, and it's so devoid of soul and so devoid of life that people, when they leave, you see such emotional preaching from behind the pulpit, and people are getting fired up, and they walk out and go, I don't know what he was actually talking about or what she was actually talking about. All I know is in that moment I was having an experience. So you see
Yeah.
so many churches online, even like Joel Osteen's, if you see like their YouTube.
Well, Joel's got some real problems right now.
Yeah, he's
Have you seen about the money in the checks?
Oh my god, oh gosh. Ugh.
That's not good.
That's a
Not
whole
good, Joel.
That's a whole decadent enchilada. We could take one bite at a time there.
I'm gonna sell to the people outside the church only holy yoga pants, though.
Oh, all right.
I don't know how. Maybe I'll just write holy across the butt of the pants.
Well, you could hold on. We got something here. If they have holes in the pants, like already, like you've just pre-ripped a bunch of holes in them, then you can just call them Sunday go to meetings.
I like it.
There you go.
I like it. What if though? But I have a merch store that sells yoga pants though, so I got to figure out what to put on the yoga pant to sell. I made one
I got it.
Okay.
You gotta have you have to have so it's just like a pair of gray yoga pants, nothing on it whatsoever. But on the back of the calf, you have an angel that's reaching up like this, as if it's going for the buttocks.
That's good. I could work that. I made one pair. I never put them on the store because are you familiar with Clive Barker?
I'm not.
Clive Barker, Hellraiser, and wait, you've never seen Hellraiser? How do you explain Clive Barker to someone who's never seen?
I know who Hellraiser is, though. The guy with the nails all on his face there.
Right. So you know the imagery of Hellraiser, right?
Yeah. And what I saw in Robot Chicken.
That all comes from the mind of Clive Barker, right?
Okay.
Or it's this horrific sort of like skin stretching and gross and violent and like the limits of human pain and
sure,
tolerance.
For the gore hounds.
Right. And that's what the pants that I made looked like it was just a bunch of my face all over the yoga pants, like just everywhere. God, it was great.
Now, if you could do one of those, but with your face as though the skin is gone, it's just the musculature with a cigar, I'm telling you, it's going to sell out overnight.
I have such sights to show you. Okay. Benji Alex says, greetings from the DFW area. So sorry to hear about your experiences, but I'm glad you have hope for the future. The failure of morality and goodwill, I hope, will one day be rectified. Take care, good sir. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Weebery says, what's your opinion on the hate dubs get for their role in localization versus direct translation, i.e. writers changing things to insert Western ideology? One of the famous instances of this, I don't remember what show it was, but the translator, I believe, was a lady named Jamie Markey, who has worked on some shows that I think you may have worked on, but you don't have to talk about her as a person. But she inserted, for example, into a line, she inserted the word Gamergate, which was not in the translation, right?
Yeah.
Because in Japan, they don't know or care about what Gamergate is.
Yep.
But when it comes to America, it's something about the Gamergate chuds or whatever phraseology she chose. I don't remember specifically. Prison school. It was prison school. and she added in Gamergate. So what do you think about that?
So I like watching the dubs for myself because I was never the fastest reader when I was younger, and so watching the subtitles, I would lose out on the action on the screen, and also I couldn't read it fast enough to keep up. So I really fell in love with dubs. And I know a lot of people, they treat that as like as its own art form, which it definitely is. However, being a huge fan of Evangelion, they worked tooth and nail to get as close to the original translation as possible. And I really, really admire them for that because I like when you're able to not only tell a story, but you're able to tell it as close to the original as you can get.
Right.
That
Because
being
someone worked really hard to write that.
Yes. That being said, I really don't like seeing American politics or American news talking points get injected into shows because then you're like, let's face it, we get browbeat around the head and brain so much in our day to day with politics, with world news, with religion stuff that when you step away to enjoy a pastime, you don't want to still have to sit there and feel like garbage for being part of the patriarchy or Pizzagate or for thinking differently than the mainstream. You want to be able to just unplug and enjoy the damn entertainment. But inserting it into there, that pulls people back into that world where they're like, man, I just spent the last 6 hours at work with the radio on listening to everybody, all the talking heads go off about these points. I just wanted to come home and watch Shield
Yes.
Hero or Dragon Ball Z or something of that nature.
Well,
So
it's
I don't like
escapism,
it.
right? Like
It
that's what anime
is.
is. That's what books are. Like, sure, you can engage a book to
Yes.
teach you more about culture or contemporary issues in women or what you can do that. You can engage. I have a great book right here. Check this out. You've never seen this book, I bet, because no one has.
Okay.
The Male Hormone
Ooh.
by Paul de Cruyff. It was written in the
Cruyff?
40s.
Ooh.
In the 40s, and the male hormone, if you haven't figured it out, is testosterone. And this guy wrote this entire book about how weak, sad little men just need testosterone and they'll be fixed. And I'm like fascinated that this thing exists, but you can engage this issue. But when you're watching Chinese cartoons, as anime is lovingly called, when you're watching Chinese cartoons, you don't actually want American culture. Like that's because like what if they took out all of the bowls of ramen from Naruto and replaced it with chicken soup or McDonald's or something? It wouldn't be Naruto.
It loses its soul.
Right. That's what they're doing. It's like, no, I want to learn about ninjas. And shouldn't watch Naruto to learn about ninjas, but I want this world of ninjas in Japan. Therefore, I want the ramen because if he's eating beef vegetable soup from Kansas,
Right.
that's not a ninja. That's just a guy in the hood. And
Yep.
and I don't want that anymore.
I agree with that because like it unless your aim is to try and unless the show is already written in such a way, like the Shield Hero was, where it's written to address a very specific topic around the idea of cancel culture, the idea of believe all victims or believe all survivors.
Are you a Shield Hero fan?
I am a Shield Hero fan.
Awesome.
I am.
What about Redo of the Healer?
I have not seen that. Is it good?
Yep. It's my favorite anime that exists.
Redo of the Healer? All right. This isn't going to be like some like tentacle thing. I'm going to go and check this out.
No, there's no tentacles in Redo of the Healer. I promise there's no tentacles.
All right. I don't want to have to scrub my hard drive after dialing that one in. But no, you're absolutely right. The preserving of the original art is so important, and to pollute it with trying to mix our own ideologies or our own bents, whether it's founded or not, it detracts from the story as a whole. Because it's like you already said, you're there to have your escapism. And even when I would perform on stage, one of the things that really meant the most to me was a teacher said, when you step on stage, enter with truth the imaginary situation of the scene. And it was like, okay, I get to enter as truthfully as possible into playing the role that has been given to me. Not my own thoughts and feelings, but playing the role that has been given. So if it's the show is made or the game is made to lend itself to that, like a great example would be, oh goodness, it was originally called Mother, It was oh goodness, the character Ness. Oh, this is gonna drive me crazy.
Is this an anime?
No, it was somebody in the chat's probably typing it in right now, but it was for the original Super Nintendo, and it was a an RPG. And over in Japan,
Earthbound.
Earthbound. Thank you,
Not only
chat.
is someone typing it in the chat, the entire chat is typing it in the chat.
Yeah. So Earthbound, it had all these great pop culture references when it was in its Japan translation. So when they brought it over to the States, they were able to do the same exact thing and put a lot of really fun Americanized pop culture references in it too. But the format lended itself to be that way. So you had the same underlying heartbeat of the story, but then you had this beautiful little concoction that they were able to fit around it. And because it had been designed such, it worked. But I wouldn't dream of doing that to Evangelion. Suddenly everybody's saying bro and tight and let's get hit. Like, I wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. If you try to make Shinji less of a pussy, it won't work.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question. Did it ever sound like when he was screaming, like he just had a throat full of phlegm, like he was gargling?
Dude, okay, look. The dub of Evangelion is pretty good.
All right,
It really is. It really is pretty good. But there's one point where the Japanese just blow it out of the water, like Pearl Harbor. By the way, it was Pearl Harbor Day when we started the stream.
Oh yeah.
Thank you
for your service, all veterans.
Thank you. Yes. Well, all veterans and specifically all Pearl Harbor survivors that are in the chat tonight. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
But yeah, so it's in one of the last episodes where Shinji is in the Ava up in the air, like everything's coming to a head, and there's the giant ray.
Yes,
right?
yes. Oh, okay, that's inside the wait, are you talking about End of Evangelion or the director's cut?
I think this was still in the show. I think it's like the next to last episode. Because
Okay,
the last episode's that weird one on the train where it's like, did you run out of budget? Like, what's happening here?
The me that sees you, the you that sees me. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's the next to last episode. And he it's Lilith, and then a ray pops up out of Lilith, and Shinji lets off that scream. And the American who did it tried, but the Japanese guy who did it, it's like he channeled Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the same time. And it's got this curdle to it, right? It's like he drank the 4-month-old milk and let it sit in the back of his throat as he screamed through it. And it's perfect in Japan. Like, that is the one part of like, I will watch the entire series dubbed and be just fine. But when that scene comes up, it's like, I want to switch to the sub just to hear that scream. It's great.
It's great. All right. Very well done. Okay, then did you see the final rebuild of Evangelion?
Yeah, I hated it.
You hated it?
I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated like, I watched the first episode. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like 111 or whatever. And then 222. I'm like, oh, okay. And then 3, and I'm like, ooh, this is not good for me. And then 4, I wanted to stab myself in the head.
Oh, God. Oh, all right. Remember you said 500 Vin Diesel before? We're gonna have to sort this out later.
Okay.
No headbutts to my gut.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I mean, I liked Mari. I liked the faked Asuka. These new characters. I just wanted something to happen that was never actually happening in the show, and it just bothered me. I'm like, please get somewhere. And then at the end, like, it was really weird. I know Ava's supposed to end weird, but it just didn't do it for me. And I liked the original show. The original ending was out there, but I liked the movies that came out, End of Evangelion and the Death and Rebirth or whatever. I liked them a lot. And then in these, like, the rebuilds, just they didn't. I couldn't get there. I couldn't finish.
It was I was a really big fan of the rebuild series. I loved the ending of number 2. Just that really powerful scene where Shinji is literally reaching through essentially what amounts to the womb to try and save Rei, and then the whole next couple of movies he's trying to find her again, and then that
I liked 1 and 2. Remember?
Yeah. Okay. Well, and those are great. The thing that I really enjoyed about number 4, because it did have a much slower pace, But what I really enjoyed inside of it was I guess, the redemption of humanity that we really didn't get to see at the end of the original series. Because for people who try when it originally came out, the movies hadn't aired, so you had a fan base that watched all the way through episodes 1 through 24, and then it got to the 2 episodes that were supposed to be viewed after watching End of Evangelion, and people were like, "What the hell is this? What am I watching?" And Hideki Anno was getting razor blades sent to him in the mail. He was getting death threats. And when the movie finally comes out, Death and Rebirth, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I've got to watch 1 through 24, Death and Rebirth, then go back and watch 25 and 26 so I can actually end on that high note where everybody's going, congratulations, Shinji, congratulations. But I feel like we kind of got that too, with Shinji finally, growing himself a pendulous set and being able to kind of like the first guy born into the Matrix be able to rewrite the world, and he gets to give everybody their happy ending. I know maybe that's not the way it should have ended, but I feel like Anno was in a very dark place when he started it, and he was in maybe a slightly less darker place when he ended it.
Like, though, when you so the rebuild is the rebuild because Shinji rebuilt it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the message of them is that he routinely has done this and failed every time, and will likely, he'll fail again. So he's not actually redeeming.
He's poor little Sisyphus pushing that rock up a hill, but he's got one arm that's toned from the elbow down, I guess.
Well, so does Quagmire.
Thank you for picking up what I was setting down. Thank you. Masterfully done.
Someone actually sent me on Odyssey. They sent me by the way, what's up to the Odyssey chat? They sent me the Shinji scream from Japan, or the various languages. You want to check it out real quick?
Let's do it.
Let's see how they screamed at different ones. I suspect the Spanish one is going to be, oh, they always do everything bad over there. Let me get this pulled up. Okay, so here we go. This is the Shinji scream in various languages. Starts with the Japanese, the original. Oh, it's all laggy. Hold on, my internet's being weird. Give me just a second. Let's try that again. Okay.
Hear it.
It's okay. Oh, that was terrible. I didn't like that one.
He had a little warble, though.
He had a warble, yeah. No, it's not bad. No, it's not bad.
What is
the French suck?
Did he take a breath and go back in for it?
I think
so. It's like that guy who yells "goal" and all those soccer games.
The French one was Le Terrible, and the Spanish one was El Terrible. God, it was so awful.
You got me though in that Japanese one. You can feel some pain in that voice.
Yeah, it's like they brought the voice actor in. They're like, okay, we're gonna really need you to reach deep for this, and then they showed him a picture of his dog decapitated or something. Like, just out of nowhere, right?
I don't know why, but I just had that image in my mind. For anybody who watched Friends out there, it's when Joey has a hernia and he's supposed to be playing some guy getting ready to die, and his like nephew's there to see him, and he's like, "Hey Billy, got something for you," and he can't get the line out. The kid's supposed to cry, and finally Chandler's like, "Hey kid, look at this." It's just this bulged out muscle in his stomach, and the kid just sobs. I feel like maybe he saw something like that. Joey just messed up guts hanging out.
Thomas Furman says Wreck and Angel End. Ricada and Angel End. Angel Legend. Angel Legend says, y'all are great. Angel Legend, do a meatwad voice, then quit fueling my silent rage.
Right.
Seriously, you guys are both great. Both do foreign voices for a bit. Also, hashtag lock up sommelier. Okay, so you're supposed to do a meatwad voice. Can you do meatwad?
Voice? Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, the important thing is to accept him for his differences. Or you could cut off his head and hide the body in the desert. That'd be different. Someone's been off the chain again.
That's pretty good. My favorite line from that entire show is when Carl comes over and Master Shake is watching some horror movie and he's got a giant like spotlight on his head.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And he's got the extension cord running to Carl's house. And he's like, comes over. And I don't remember exactly how he says it. And he says, I noticed your lights on over here. And then I see this cord plugged into my outlet. And I put 2 and 2 together. And I figured out you're pissing me off.
Another great line from that show. My favorite one is it's like a montage episode, but they end up getting Tara Patrick, the actual porn star, to read for her character. And Carl's on the phone. He's like, wait a minute, you got Tara Patrick over there? Oh, okay. If you got what's tattooed on, or rather in her uterus? And she goes, it's a unicorn making love to a Keebler elf. That line slays me.
Oh, that's good. What's your favorite impression or voice that you do?
Ooh, let's see. Oh man.
Like not like one of your roles. That's cheating. I'm talking about because that's like your business. But when you go home and you get your dirty little hobby out and you're like, I'm gonna do a Seinfeld impression while no one's listening or whatever. Yeah. What is it? What's your go-to?
I really, really love Patrick Warburton as Brock Sampson from the Venture Brothers. I like the way he kind of talks like this. Or if it's Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, just what's spinach puffs? Oh, that's a real shame. It's gonna be amazing.
He did the Tick, right?
He did, yep.
But he didn't do the Tick animated show.
No, the live action.
Yeah, but did you ever watch the animated show for the Tick?
Mm-hmm.
I loved, there was this one episode, I don't remember, I didn't watch much of it, but there's this one episode where they're interviewing the Tick and the Moth guy, whatever his name was. And there's someone interviewing him and they're like asking the Tick about his superpowers that he has. And they're like, well, do you have heat vision? He's like, no. They're like, can you fly? No. Can you do this? No. He's like, what powers do you even have? And he's like, I'm mighty. And then it goes over to Arthur, I think his name is, and he's like, I can fly. but he's like, I'm mighty. That was it. It's his only superpower.
Well, you're the second other person that I've ever known who has seen the Tick that Patrick plays in as a Tick. I heard the voice once described to me as, you just always gotta sound like you're a little out of breath. It's gotta like, oh yeah, Cusco's poison for Cusco, poison made specifically for Cusco. That poison.
That guy was always great in Seinfeld too.
He was. Oh, okay. There was a little known M&M's commercial I watched a while back. I don't know if you saw this one. Patrick was in it, and it starts off and 3 M&Ms. It's the orange one, the yellow one, and the red one. They're all sitting on just a stack of newspapers, and they're eating M&Ms of their various kind. So you got the peanut, regular chocolate, and then crispy. Patrick walks in, and he's like getting a soda or something. He looks and goes, "What are you doing? You guys are M&Ms," and they're just still eating M&Ms. It's like, you're eating your own kind, like cannibals. And they still just are staring at him, and they're chewing slower, and finally goes, "Give me the bags." Snatches them away. So good.
Oh my goodness. Rick Nikita says, oh wait, so that's your favorite is Patrick Warburton.
Yep.
You do a good one. Like that's
Thank you.
I don't even know how to do that voice.
I said you gotta sound like you're tired. Really pull it from the throat. That whole milk thing we were
I'd
talking about.
have to practice. See, I don't know. People don't, maybe they don't realize that like doing a voice, it's practice, right? You do it over and over and over again.
Oh
You do
yeah.
it by yourself, like some sort of weirdo. You're just in your house, like doing voices, and there's no one around, and you're like, this is what I do. But it's not like you just do an impression.
No, it does take a lot to build up. And like one of the things, so
Except
many
for
people,
me and the Mark Richards impression, but everything
oh
else,
my
no.
gosh, dude, you slay me on that so hard. Especially when you're having this fake dialogue between yourself and Binger. Like I was about to wet myself over that. But you're absolutely right. It doesn't just come overnight. Phrasing. It doesn't just come to you overnight. But for so many people, especially those inside like the video game world or those in the animation world, everybody thinks that they have the best British accent, and most of them they fall very, very flat.
Right.
And I remember watching a guy, his name was Peter Dixon. He's an actor across the pond. He's an actual native Brit. And when he talked about what he does 5 days a week, so the work week, what he does to keep his voice supple and keep the accents he's working on or the characterizations he's working on fresh in his mind, he takes an hour every single day. And for about the first half hour, he'll work on his delivery, his lines. He has a thing that he calls pad, which it's, I believe, pitch, accent, and defect. So it's the pitch that you're speaking in, the accent you're using, and then a defect to the voice. Maybe he's got a broken jaw, or
Right.
his tongue's in the back of his throat. And so he'll work on his deliveries, and then he takes another half hour and he just works on, he'll listen to the accent spoke from native speakers. He'll work it back. He'll go through different vowel sounds, different word like compositions of sentences, like weird tongue twisters. And he does that every single work day. So by the time he gets on stage, it sounds like he's just pulling them out of a hat, but there's a lot of hours that are put into it.
Yeah, it's wild how much work it is. Because I've been I'm a mere amateur, right? But I've been doing voices forever. Like as a kid, I would sit around and just try and imitate voices all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, to put in hours and hours and hours of doing voices while playing Legos and stuff like that. And it's interesting what you learn about how the sounds come out of your mouth based on where your tongue is. Like you mentioned, you got a broken jaw, you got something coming out down here. You got to work through it. The defect parts of it. It's neat what you learn about how you make sounds and do that. Do you sing in accents or voices at all?
Oh, I do. So you mentioned,
of course you do.
Of course I
Stop
do,
it.
Dave.
Musical theater voice actor. He's like, I have to think about this obvious question that Nick just softballed across the plate.
Oh man, I feel like Biden here. I could have just been like, Wait, they told me not to answer that one. No, I can. My buddy Greg and I, Power Cat Greg, myself, and actually in your chat, Thomas Furman, we had back when we both used, or all three of us used to be grease monkeys in the pits of Super Lube back in Rochelle, Illinois. We would have what has now been referred to as pretend time. And somebody would start on a thread of consciousness, and it might be a story about the great Michael Fassbender and the meat massacre of 1919 and his candy corn fueled rages.
Pretend time as grease monkeys in the shop sounds like there's a bunch of motor oil being rubbed on pets. That's all. I can't.
You remember when you mentioned Debbie Does Dallas? Yeah, I don't want to say the two are related, but we would have a pretend time.
Oh, do Patrick Warburton while you oil me up.
Hey, you missed this, but yeah, get the.
I wasn't serious. Oh God,
W30. No, it's got to be a heavier grade. You check my rear differential. There we go. All right. But part of pretend time, we would ask a lot of questions like, "What if such and such?" And one of the best ones was, say you've got a. Okay, you know how in typical mass for like whether it be a Catholic church or if it's the Lutheran, the more anglicized version, they'll have hymns that they sing, or even for some churches that are more like Presbyterian, they have like the early morning service where there's hymns and then later service where it's rock and roll. Well, right. I thought, what if you got this tone deaf Scottish guy who's like super sold out for Jesus, but he can't hear himself when he sings. So he's just very, very vehemently just very, very striking strong when he's singing like Battle Hymn of the Republic. And so it's like, my eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling at the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. Just the only guy just so out, just Jesus los metes sano for the Bible.
It's Michael Myers playing Charlie's dad in So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yes.
Good Lord. Okay. Rick Nikita says, rejoice, for I bring you glorious news. God walks among us. Hey, thanks, Rick. How you doing,
Amen, brother?
How you doing, buddy? Denise Holton says, my son made baseball team after 2 previous times failing. Then the season in school canceled. He took his own life later that year. Started a Give Send Go to help finish the memorial. Look up Hogan. Please share. Denise, I am so sorry to hear that. That is
sorry about that, man.
that is awful. That is awful. I think that's it's an unsung sort of I mean, it's a dirge of COVID, right? And not COVID so much, but the havoc wrought by government policy and public paranoia that isolated people. I mean, kids in particular, who are accustomed, right? Kids, when you think about it, we homeschool, right? So our kids are broken by us, but we get to break them.
Yeah.
Whereas, the kids broken by the public school system, they get inculcated in this environment where they are constantly with this group of people for 12 years. And that group remains largely the same. I mean, sure, you're going to get a couple additions and a couple subtractions. You're going to get big infusions when you move from elementary school into middle school and you move into a larger sort of environment, right? But there's probably a core group of 50 to 100 people that you are going to see unless you move from kindergarten until you graduate high school. And you're never, ever going to find that environment again.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to say about that is one thing, but what you have to realize is that if you do that to a kid for 10 years, they're a 10th grader or whatever, or an 11th grader, or even a 9th or 8th, whatever, they're junior high to high school, and you completely change the world that they live in, and you take away all of the support structures they have, and even all of the complications that they would normally face, that they've been facing for years. Kids didn't process that very well. Hell, adults didn't process that very well, and they didn't have the same sort of depth of experience that these kids had. And so, I mean, it's one day when the political paranoia dies down and we're able to actually talk truth about what happened here, some sociologist or anthropologist is going to look back, and you'd hope that they go, man, what we did here to these kids, to this generation, was devastating.
Oh, absolutely. Because like you have the benefit. I was homeschooled growing up until I got to high school era or high school age. And then I went and did 2 years at a Christian private school. And then I did my last 2 years in just a regular public school. But what I'm sure you're finding, which was so valuable for my mother, who did teach my brother and I, was that you have so much one-on-one time with your child. Normally if you're working a regular 9 to 5 job, it's like, to a degree, your ship's passing in the night during those formative school years, because they come home from school, you get back from work, you guys have dinner, they've got homework, you might pop upstairs right before bedtime, like, hey, love you, buddy, I'll see you tomorrow. And then that's largely the interaction until the weekend. Whereas if you're doing an actual sit down with them and you're teaching them, not only do you get to tell them, hey, this is how it's done, but when they ask you why, they're not going to be browbeaten about the head by somebody who has some kind of ideological bent to teach this oh goodness, what is it? They're teaching it right now in school. It's based off the
critical race theory.
Yes, critical race theory. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like where everything is being drawn up as it's all down to race. It's all down to identity politics. You get to tell them, no. Here's the reason why we do this. It has nothing to do with your skin color. It has nothing to do with your race, religion, or your creed. It's simply 2 + 2 always equals 4. And it doesn't bemoan anybody or hinder anybody's ethnic persuasion or background to say that it is so. And I think you're preparing them so well for when they do step out into the world. Because I know even for myself, being raised in a Christian home, I did end up kind of becoming the prodigal son there for a little while, and I took my jaunt out in the wilderness. But those foundations that my folks laid down inside me, they always stuck with me. And after finally having my soiree with, coming very close to death several times, it was like, all right, I need to come on home.
You only came close to death because you're not actually a good fighter. Boom! Roasted.
Oh, I feel like I need to hear the sad music from Trigger Happy Television to play me out now.
Can my can one of the mods or multiple of the mods take a look at that Give Send Go? It's for Hogan. Give Send Go on behalf of Denise. If people want to check that out, I don't endorse fundraising or whatever unless I know the person specifically or know the thing and am willing to give to it. I'll check this one out, but I don't know Denise. But if you check it out and you read that story and you feel compelled, please help out. Again, it's just the nature of what I do, and I get so many requests to do GoFundMe's that I can't particularly endorse them unless I know something. But like I said, you guys can check that out for sure. And Denise, I am genuinely sorry to hear that about your son. I can't imagine the hurt going on there. Ryan H says, and this is how it always goes. As Kermit, I'm supposed to do a Kermit voice.
Oh, all right.
This time of year is stressful, but one thing that always gets me into the Christmas spirit is sitting on the couch, putting on A Christmas Carol, and having Miss Piggy ebbing on my kneeser till I Scrooge.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Ryan H. Way to follow up that other super chat, you insensitive jerk.
Oh man.
Oh goodness.
You have a hell of a community. I love it.
Wolfgang Deo says, hey Eric, love the taking on the culture war thing. There's an important issue we need to resolve. 2, 1, or no balls on your futanari.
1.
1 ball?
Just 1.
It's like not even committal. It's like
you only need 1.
What are you, some sort of filthy centrist?
You only need 1. Come on, you can sell the other for $30,000. Pay off your college.
This fence sitter here. He says, yes, Futa. do you know of Futa? Surely you do. Nick likes it and has a collection under his desk. Okay, tell me about Futa.
Oh, no.
Experiences with it.
No experience with Futa. None of that. Mm-hmm. That's a dark road of anime you do not want to go down.
All right. We'll accept that answer, I guess. 1 ball, really? Blaine Storm says the problem I have with 3.33 and 3.0 plus 1.0 is that the battles feel like Dynasty Warriors, and the original had battles that feel like Dark Souls. At the end, Asuka and Mari are just mowing down jabronis like they're nothing. I hated the last fight. It felt like a video game set, like the buildings were like toppling over, like it was very weirdly animated.
I'll give you that. That was.
I mean, it wasn't. A lot of people said it's badly animated. I disagree with that. I think it was well animated. The style bothered me to my core. Like I'm in an HP Lovecraft book and I hear some scratching at the window or whatever. And I'm like, this is eerie scratching because I don't even have windows. Right. Like that's what was going on. But yeah, I mean, Asuka and Mari were just they were gunning down the millions and millions of flying things. I didn't have too much problem with that so much. I don't know that they fully expressed how the lesbian power between Asuka and Mari drove them to new heights. They could have probably done a Cinemax style special on it. But they didn't. So it was a little weird. William Smith says you're talking about Evangelion, so I must super chat. Thank you. Nix Hex says Robert. Who's Robert?
I don't know.
I think he means Eric.
Maybe.
And he says, I play worship, and a majority of the songs we play are by Hillsong, Bethel, and Elevation. Is it right to overlook the heresies taught by those churches for the sake of a set list if the lyrics are doctrinally sound?
I would say it comes down to, because I know that when churches have to, or when they do play music from different like Hillsong United or from Bethel or from Elevation Worship, you do have to pay royalties on that. And it all comes down to whether you want to support what's going on inside the church doors of said church body. Um, that like I don't see anything wrong with like singing the songs, but I know that a number of those songs have been written, and God was not the intent that they were writing about inside those songs. So I would encourage you to look up. There's actually some really, really fantastic videos that go into a breakdown of those on YouTube. You can look those up. Um, that's one that you have to really answer between you and God, because I know I can sing any number of songs that I hear on the radio, but it doesn't mean that I'm supporting the church largely because I'm not having to pay royalties to sing a song in my shower or in my car on the way to work.
Yeah, but it's like when I go to church and I sing Eminem songs in front of the congregation. That's how I do it. I get up and I sing Rap God
Sure.
because it has God in it, so therefore it's appropriate for church. I've learned this. I've also completely forgotten what I was going to ask you. If you remembered, I said, I've got something to ask you, but I'm going to wait until after Super Chats. I don't know what it was. I don't even care what it was at this point.
I could start to ramble or something.
No. It's fine. I want to get back into this sort of idea of the culture war, what it means. You had
Sure.
kind of elaborated on your need to speak, right? And
Yes.
you come at the culture war from almost from a calling to lukewarm Christianity and calling out the Christians, right? Because I think a lot of people who are not Christian misunderstand Paul.
Yes.
Because they read Paul and they're like, Paul's like, you know what? Maybe don't get married. Maybe don't do this. Maybe don't have woman leaders. Maybe don't have, what was it? Maybe kick people out of the church and all this stuff. And like when you contextualize what Paul is doing, he says, we don't have time for this. Like we don't have time to fight over against a patriarchal worldview and try and establish woman leaders. You're just not going to accept it in Middle Eastern Rome, right? Like it's not happening. So don't bother with it. If there's someone in there, if you've got some weirdo in your church who's doing some things, just kick him out because you don't have time and you can't have the message delayed. But if you take that as instructive now, when you go, Paul thinks that Christ is coming back before he dies. And you take that as instructive now and you say, well, how does this kick the weirdos out of your church jive with forgiveness? Doesn't really match up. Paul is talking about cleaning the house of the church for its purpose. And I think that's what we have to take from it. Right? Do you agree with that? That's kind of rooted in a time and place sort of understanding, and that like we're in a different time and place than Paul was. So to me, we don't take the exact words of Paul and try and linearly apply them to American Christianity, but we take the idea that the message itself is maybe what's important, and the message needs to be delivered at this juncture in a way that will heal the world. And so then you clean the house of Christianity with that sort of in mind. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm definitely a Bible literalist. I take it literally as also as well as metaphorically. What I really glean, and I guess I could say like I'm there with you partly, but on the other side, I look at what Paul has said, and he actually, when it comes to like excommunicating somebody from within the ranks of the church, there is a way to go about it, and the same kind of set of how to go about it could be applied to anybody just who has a relationship where somebody is being corrosive to you and your soul and your well-being. What are the steps you go to first try and rectify what's going on with that person, to bring another friend with you to help kind of play mediator, and then where you go from there? But Paul actually calls back to what Jesus said, and Jesus talks, I believe it's in the book of Luke, about what do you do with a brother who is maintaining a sinful stance on any myriad of things. what do you do if they are resistant to your call to a higher purpose? And he says, well, first you talk to them one-on-one. Then if it's not heeded, you go with a friend. If it's still not heeded, then you bring them before the elders and you say, hey, look, as a collective of this body who we are called to hold accountable and we're called to judge within the church, we have somebody here who's living in defiance of what we know to be true. And if so much of our witness is supposed to be the way we live our lives versus the way that we speak, because talk is cheap. You and I both know that. The picture it paints to anybody looking from the outward in, like Paul said, even when he was referring to just disorderly worship, he said people are going to look in and think they're out of their minds. Well, after you go to the deacons, then if the person still refuses, then you have to make a public display and say, look, we're going to have to say goodbye to this person. Now, the nature of forgiveness is such that even for God, all throughout the Old Testament, you see his own people, the Jews, the Israelites, literally become the worst creatures on the planet. When it talks inside the book of 2 Kings about Israel being even fouler than the nations that God drove out of Canaan. And you're talking about nations that were into bestiality, that were into cannibalism, that sacrificed their children to demon gods, and Israel trumped all that. God always forgave them. However, for the infraction, a punishment or a discipline had to be leveled. It's like even with children, you could say, like, my dad was really good about this. He would only tell me once, and he always followed through on his threats. He didn't often tell me, why. He assumed that I knew. However, my mother, whenever she would discipline me, she would always sit me down and she would say, look, do you know why I had to do that? And if I said, oh, because you're mean, she'd say, no, tell me why it was necessary for me to discipline you. And I'd have to tell her, well, because I hit my brother, or because I stole that piece of chocolate from the store. She always forgave me, but the punishment still had to be rendered. And in the context of being within a church body, say a pastor is found to have been on like Ashley Madison, hooking up with 17 people, having all these extramarital affairs.
Oh, don't talk about the Duggars that way.
Well, the social fallout from that could mean prolonged scrutiny for years, nigh until the person dies. That's a very, very heavy smirch on somebody's record.
Sure.
And for that, yes, forgive the person always. However, if there's a punishment that is due or a discipline that is due, because discipline is supposed to keep us from having to endure punishment. So you discipline up to the point where it's like, hey, look, I've told you 3 times. Now, if you do it again, we've got to have our punishment. If you're a parent, at that point, it's due of punishment. Doesn't mean that you're going to just hold that and laud it over their heads, but you grant the forgiveness and you say, look, on principle, you have to endure said punishment now. Otherwise, we are not being true to what the good book tells us, and we're not being true to this foundation that we're supposed to be a part of.
Well, there you go. Very, very interesting answer. I like it. I'm not 100% sure I agree with everything, but see,
right.
my thing is, because it is all right. That's the whole point of all of
Mhm.
this, is that
Yep.
that it's okay to explore and challenge ideas.
That's such a great segue.
To
Such
what?
a great segue into the nature of how online it seems like one collective of people are allowed to have all the opinions, all the thoughts, all the likes and dislikes. The other side can only have thoughts and dislikes and opinions if they align with that one side. It's as if one side gets to have their cake and eat it too, and the other side has to just fall in line. Otherwise, they come for your family, they come for your job, they come for your livelihood. What I really, really, really want to see people do, and I know it's scary. Anything worthwhile is scary, and anything worthwhile is going to be hard. But you mentioned something before, and without saying it, I at least picked it out of what you were saying. And it was when you were talking about children who were inside school, and then suddenly they're out of it for a year.
Right.
During that pandemic, suddenly it's like they've lost their purpose. And as much as we pretend like we'd love to sit around all day eating peeled grapes and being fanned by some topless chick while we lounge on a chaise, you could handle that for about...
mean, it sounds good.
Actually, she's got a beard, okay? She has a beard.
What religion is this I have to sign up for?
I want to say it's Buddhism, I think. But actually, funny you mentioned religion. This is how the story of the Buddha went. So what was really, really tragic for the Buddha was his father, and this is how the story is, his father did not want the world to scar and torment him. So he built this self-contained world for him, kind of like the Truman Show, where everything was pleasure. He had unlimited access to all the delights of his heart. If he wanted skin, he could have it. Booze, drugs, whatever. He could sleep until 3 in the afternoon. Didn't matter. And because Buddha had no driving force, he didn't have that necessary challenge that we need. It was like partying became the job. It's like when you see on people like VH1's richest socialites, these kids who have billions and billions of dollars who are 23 and they're already addicted to every drug in the book. It's like they know that they don't need money. They don't have to work a job. They don't have any purpose. And so they treat partying as though it is the job. Like their next fix is like, oh, well, it's time to clock in. I've got to, snort down my mountain of cocaine and then go to the club. Well, Buddha, he finally steps
I only do
outside
foothills of cocaine.
8 balls or gumballs. But Buddha steps outside that domain and he sees the whores in the streets. He sees the beggars. He sees the city in disrepair, and that terrifies him, and he runs back in. And he goes back to that safety where there's no challenge, and it starts to drive him mad. And that's what you see so much with people, especially those online who pretend as though they want life to be so easy. Yes, give me some more handouts so that I don't have to do a damn thing. But it's not sustainable because you go stir crazy because we have such a need to work. It's like why retired people who were working super hard their entire life, once they say goodbye to their job, so many of them, they just croak within months because they don't have a sense of purpose anymore. And
yeah, and it's
you need it.
It's one of the big complaints I have about the current the current culture, right? This cancel culture thing is one, we've got it in 2 facets here, and I'll speak to the one you're talking to first, and that's this idea that to me, and you can verify if you've experienced this, but when men meet other men, particularly when men meet other men, one of the first questions is, "Hey, I'm Eric. What's up? What do you do?" Right? Like that's one of the first questions you ask. What do you do? Because we identify our productivity with ourselves. Like that's who we are. Women are different. They don't identify the productivity aspect as part of their identity. Doesn't mean that their productivity isn't valuable. It just means that they don't value their productivity in the same way that men do for whatever reason. So when you take that consideration and then you look at what cancel culture actually does, and that is to strip someone of their career, it is really to peel their identity away from them via force. And to me, it's one of the most violent acts that occurs, and it occurs with frequency and glee currently.
Oh man.
And I think one of the observations I've had is, disregarding the political affiliations of the people involved, the main sort of front of this offensive, I'll say, against various individual men. It's hashtag not all men or whatever stupid phrase.
Not all cops.
Whatever I have to say to get to the point and have someone actually listen to it. But it tends to be driven by women and effeminate men. Like, and I don't mean like, oh, I talk like this. I mean, because really, Vic, I mean, come on, Vic, we need to talk about the fact that you drink the sugary flavored whiskeys. We'll fix you. Sorry. Whenever I hang out with Vic, he's always like, "Oh, bro, have you tried this salted caramel whiskey?" Like, no, because I'm a man. But whatever. But no, I mean the emasculated men, the men who don't value their productivity, the men who don't value the masculine traits, who don't want to start a family, who don't want to lead in their household, who don't want to lead the people around them in group settings, who don't want to have input. And you see them, they're all over Twitter, and they're usually orbiting a giant fat woman. But that's what they do. And so you've got this gaggle of females who have taken on this sort of role to disenfranchise a particular man. And then you've got this little group of beta orbiters. I mean, I actually don't like the alpha beta terminology all that much, but I don't know of a better way to describe them, and they find it completely degrading, so I will use it. But you've got
always
this,
call them sissies.
well, I don't know if I can anymore. I'm not in Poland. In Poland,
wow.
I can. In Poland, I think I can call them sissies or fairies.
Girly men.
But yeah, you've got this little group of orbiters who are like, yeah, you deserve to be canceled. It's like, stop it. Because, but the reality is this, they don't have a male identity. They don't have that. And they don't believe that they should. And I think that that's an actual crime against humanity in the current culture, that we're trying to devalue what it is to be masculine. They're not trying to similarly devalue what it is to be feminine. Right? They're trying they're trying to prop up female characteristics while devaluing male characteristics. And it's like, wait a minute. No. You either devalue all of gender as a complete construct and pointless, which I disagree with, but at least you're going to be consistent, or you highlight and emphasize these values, because to me that leads you to fulfillment. And I'm more interested in fulfilling, if you know what I mean. I'm more interested in people being fulfilled by what they do than people being desperate and weak and lost individuals.
That's, man, you hit on literally, like, you pulled the thoughts out of my head there.
Well, I'm always trying to take thoughts out of people's heads. You should not be on Twitch. You got to get off Twitch. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous for a good Christian man to hear
ASMR. Hey, I'm gonna eat this bowl of pudding real quick. Why don't you dim the lights? I'm also taking out my false teeth to do so.
Oh God, what Twitch are you watching?
Wait, are we? We're not. I thought we were calling back to Debbie Does Dallas again.
He's in the AARP Twitch.
Yeah, everybody's got a golf cart made to look like a muscle car from the 67s. But you're so right on all that, because without the sense of purpose and without being able to draw inferences from the differences that are between the sexes, men and women, so many people, they look at that as a hindrance or as a bad thing. But it's like, no, when I see my wife and the nurturing capacity that she has over what I might say in an instance where, say, I watch my child fall down, like his name is Christian. I call him T-Bird because his initial spell out car. But I watched him take a spill the other day, and me watching him fall, my initial reaction was like, you're right. Come on, little buddy, you're good. But he was crying, and immediately his arms reached out for her. And when she picked him up, it was like, in his eyes, she was God.
Yeah.
And I know that I don't have that. And that's not a weakness on her part, because she's able to do that and provide that. That is such a supreme strength, because that's not something that I have. I'm this big, broody guy full of testosterone. I'm made to go out there, kill the cow, drag it home, cut pieces off of it, and throw that on a grill. I'm not so much made for the tiny things. Like, I jokingly say I've got hands strong enough to crush a boulder, but gentle enough to crush a butterfly. But crushing butterflies, that's not my bag. I would much rather be able to watch my wife have that quality time with my child and be able to make a home. Because when she's not here and it's just me and the kid, I get to see how much work making up a home is. It's like, by the time you're done with laundry and dishes and scrubbing the floors and doing the toilets and putting that laundry away and making sure your kid's changed, fed, napped, and watered, it's like 5 o'clock. You've been doing a 12-hour day. It's like, I need a beer and a nap after this. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean that they're any less valuable to society. And any woman who wants to be a career woman and work out there, good on you. Have at that. Have fun with that. But also, don't let anybody tell you that you have to do that. Don't let anybody try and demean the fact that being a stay-at-home mom isn't one of the best things in the world. Don't let them try and take that away from you, because it really, really is. And for you guys, since you're doing the homeschooling like my mom did, man, those are such precious, formative times that you're never going to get back.
it's almost like the roles, like these traditional gender roles, exist because it comports with the wiring that's built into us, right? Like men going out and providing, or men protecting and fortifying.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we've built, like for better or worse. It's neutral. It's not an important thing as to the moral value of it, or
Mhm.
whatever principal value you're trying to assign, because that's not actually based in anything other
Yeah.
than your chosen ethic.
Yeah. I don't
But
even think morality plays into it. It's just
right.
logical
But
outworking.
but it's like, so this is the way that we developed as people. So then that's what we have. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter that, like, you think that that's good or bad, is what I'm saying. It's like it is. And so the man and of course there are men who will stay home and be dads and be amazing
Yeah.
while their wife goes out and works, and that's great. But we're talking on majorities here.
Mhm.
That is the thing. And to me, that's what I see the attack on going on
Yep.
right now. It's what drew me to the Vic case in general. It's what draws me to all of these cases. Is I see attacks on masculine identity, and I see attacks on feminine identity too. I really do.
Mhm.
I see exploitations of it on Twitch. I see exploitations of it. Mainly, what really bothers me is that women are being lied to by culture. They're saying you can go out and be this sexually liberated butterfly, and it's like, no. Look, I've never seen the butterfly have 3 other caterpillars plowing it, right? Like, I've never seen
Mhm.
that
And then
except
wanted
in
to have that butterfly after they were done getting plowed.
right as its wings are sad and don't even work, and it just
Yeah, it's
lays
missing a
there.
leg.
Right, and it's covered in caterpillar juice or whatever, like
Silk.
filthy, disgusting. Uh, but it's like that's what's being taught to these to kids, and that's where I'm like, wait a minute. So this, to me, that's the culture war that I'm
Mhm.
engaged in, and or that, not that I'm engaged in, but that I see and that I want to speak to. But of course, it's too big, right? It's too big for any one person to deal with,
Mhm.
and you can't try and take it all on. So I've
Yes.
found myself in this weird world of like law and anime and comic books and stuff like that. But that leads me to this question that was brought up in one of the chats, and I want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
What do you feel about gatekeeping hobbies? Like, you look and you say, you don't get to come into my D&D table. You don't get to read comic books with me. You won't like them. Stay away. What do you think about that? Because I used to be opposed. In full disclosure, I used to be opposed to gatekeeping. Now I fully embrace it. I say gatekeeping your escapism is preserving and protecting your escapism.
I would have to agree. Um, as I'm a person who really likes to work with my hands. Little fun facts about me. I have massive OCD. And I can get stuck in little patterns, almost like vocal or motor tics. And doing art, just for the sake of doing art, it really helps me process through that. So whether it's drawing a painting or whether it's making a bullwhip out of nylon paracord, something like that, it's a precious moment for me. It's a precious amount of time for me.
How many
And
bullwhips have you made?
I have made, I believe, 10. I think 10
Really?
whips.
What is your nighttime name? Mistress Erica?
No, because I found out what my name would have been had I gone into nighttime work, and it was supposed to be the name of my first pet and the name of the street I lived on. So it would have been Juno Harlan. So
Juno Harlan, that's not
yeah,
bad. So
yeah.
for me, it would have been Indy Cold Lake.
Ooh.
It's kind of a weird one.
Well, you could write some romance novels with that moniker.
I mean, I can write some romance novels anyway if you give me a few minutes.
Yeah, so there he was making spinach puffs and throwing off the Emperor's groove there. It's a great time.
I
But,
walked in on Miss Piggy and she was with Fozzie Bear, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in on this shit too. Let me lick that hairy bunghole."
No, I'm just kidding.
now ask me why my fingers smell like bacon. But no, I do think that there is a certain amount of gatekeeping that because you have to treasure certain times. And like if we want to expand it to a little bit of a broader scope with say like friend groups where you enjoy a certain thing, like you mentioned a D&D table, or your group of friends that you guys always play the same online game, whether it's Halo or Call of Duty. um you I say cats should hang out with other cats solely when it comes down to your most precious of moments and the time that you value the most. I think that's to be shared with your closest of family and your closest of confidants. The kind of superfluous things where, hey, we're going to go out and grab pizza later on. Of course, enjoy that with those who you might just be kind of slightly acquainted with. But when it comes to what really, really, really helps you at the end of the day, or what really, really helps you take your mind off the wiles of the world, man, protect that. Because once that's invaded and you're now having to cater to somebody else's speed, it boy, it's so hard to undo, because then you risk the person feeling insulted or having their feelings hurt, because it's not that you hate the person, it's just you're like, boy, I really like playing Warcraft by myself, and not having somebody here constantly trying to get me to trade up their armor for them, or trying to get me to right KEK as often as I can.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. This is the several conventions I've gone to that have me do a panel. I do this panel. The whole panel is it's called the For the Fans panel, and it's all about all of this stuff is for you. You the fan, right? Anime is for the fan. The tabletop game is for the fan. Everything is for the fan. The fan, not the pretend fan who says, you know, I really wait. Sorry, let me get the right voice. I
Good.
really love D&D. I've been playing it my whole life. But I really have a problem with how misogynistic it is and exclusory it is to people with disabilities. You have never played D&D in your entire life. I can tell. Stop it. Stop it. Tiamat's not in a wheelchair. Get out of here. Orcus might have autism, but we don't call it that. Stop. No.
Real good at counting, though.
It's like this idea, it's like, no, it's for you. It was always for you. So you don't let someone come in and pretend to be a fan who goes, I love this so much, I've loved it forever, but it doesn't address this and this and this and this. It's like, then you don't love it. Like you clearly don't love it, right? If you think orcs are black people, you definitely hate Skyrim.
Oh, yes, you do. It's like,
Yeah.
if you're a fan of something, then why do you have to change it to fit some kind of mold that you want to see done? Because otherwise you're not a fan. Then you're the director. Then you're trying to play the mind of the artist. It's like there's an idea that's been floating around now. I've seen it since, I guess, like 2013, 14-ish. And it's this idea that somehow anime is only for a certain subculture of human. Anime is only,
I wouldn't call them human.
or I should say a certain group of individuals, whether it be like, oh, anime is only for marginalized individuals, or anime is only for the LGBT, or anime is only for straight, cis, non-binary people. It's like, you don't get to go and say this particular form of entertainment is for anybody, because if it's there to be enjoyed, it's almost like Maximus saying, are you not entertained? Don't make this try and fit your mold. If you don't like the show, turn it off. If you don't like the movie, shut it off. If you don't want to play the game, then don't play the game. But don't try and tell somebody that it's solely for you and they have to be excluded from it. Because then I don't consider that being part of the hobby. You know, if you just watch a show or you consume some kind of media, you're enjoying what has been set before you. And being that we have all the right in the world to look, we also have all the right in the world not to look. So, you know, if you want to say, oh, anime is only for the LGBT, fuck that. If you want to say anime is only for marginalized people, fuck that. If you want to say anime is only for those who color inside this scope here, inside these lines, fuck that noise. Enjoy what you enjoy, and don't let anybody tell you that you have to be one way or the other to enjoy it, because then it's not entertainment.
And see, that's the trick, is that that's what the gatekeeping is about. It's like, you don't get to mold the thing that you claim to like, because you either enjoy it or you don't. And if you don't enjoy anime because you find it too misogynistic, don't watch it. Or
Shut
if
it
you don't
off.
enjoy anime because it's slice of life, and slice of life enjoyers should be put to the sword, then well, I mean, I think we can all agree that anyone who likes slice of life anime should be summarily executed by the state, and that slice of life anime should be removed from society. There's no fixing it. I don't have to make it more woke or anti-woke or whatever. You cannot change.
Yeah, it's watching The Sims.
Right. Slice of life anime needs to go. It just needs to be gone. But everything else, though, in every other situation, don't try and change it because you don't like it. And that's the joke about slice of life. I would never try to change what boring, disgusting, hedonistic, heathen garbage slice of life anime is. I just hate it to the core of my being, down in the depths of my soul.
That's your right.
When I'm praying to God in my most desperate moments, and I'm like, God, I'm in a car. I don't have control. Jesus, take the wheel. I'm on black ice, which is only 3/5 of regular ice, and I'm spinning around and I'm about to die. But also, slice of life anime sucks. And if I could unnuke Japan, I would, just to remove slice of life anime. Or if I have to nuke it again, whatever I have to do, God, please just get me out and I'll remove it. That's how passionately I hate slice of life anime. But I would never change it. I wouldn't, because it's not my thing. And I can't pretend to like the thing. And because so if you see this over here, these are all Warhammer books.
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow.
it's a whole shelf, and they're all collector's edition. It's my one thing. It's my thing that I buy. And I buy all of them because I like them. I don't know why. I just do. I like the art of making the book. I love the work that they put into the craft of the book. The writing is always, it's Warhammer. I mean, it's fine. It's my ringing endorsement of Warhammer.
I was just saying, that's a real 5-star one you got there.
No, I just love the craft of the book and the idea that they have the audacity to make these limited editions that have like 1,500 or 2,500 copies that will ever exist, and they make them and they do them and they're done. But don't mess with my thing. Don't tell me that there need to be female Space Marines. There do not. They don't need to exist. Them existing would be heresy worthy of castration. Stop it. Stop trying to change my thing. I will never change your thing. I won't go to a BLM rally and say there's not enough white inclusion. I don't care. Like, stop. I'll never mess with your dumb hobby. Leave my dumb hobby alone.
Yes.
And that's where we need to be. Because if you don't like the thing, just go away, Anita Sarkeesian.
Yes. Because it's like, so many people, they choose to insert themselves into either a conversation or a situation that they've got no business being in. As for so much of what we see, even inside the news, about 2% actually affects you as an individual on the daily. Everything else is just, hey, for your information, this is going on, or hey, just in case you wanted to know. If anybody goes, my wife and I will routinely go just dark on all social media for like a month at a time, just unplug. And it's amazing the stuff you get done in that time because your focus is elsewhere. You find you're a lot more joyful because you're not constantly being bombarded by everybody telling you how much of a crappy human being you are for not liking X, Y, and Z. So even online, it's like somebody can say, hey, I really enjoy this one thing. And then they get dumped all over because somebody else is going, well, that's not what the mainstream is enjoying. So you're clearly an outlier, and you're a white supremacist, and you're a bigot, and you're a xenophobe, and you're a homophobe. Get the hell off this platform. My real supreme hope is that people more, because like a big surprise here, I'm a Christian guy. I'm also on the right. I'm a Republican guy. Doesn't mean that
what are you talking about? Mug Club with liberal tears Tumblr?
I know. Maybe I'll just put one in the other, like I'm doing a sake bomb or something here, and we'll get wild. But
do you drink?
I do.
See, I just asked because not all Christians do, but I have been this entire time.
That is all right. And who knows? Maybe this is a liter of vodka here. Just vodka.
Wait, is this your favorite vodka? Because if you drink any other vodka, you're just a wimp.
What is it?
Military Special.
Oh yeah, I remember Jello shots with something approximating that back in the day.
This says ultra premium on it, so it is, right? That's what Good
Sure,
quality
it's in a
plastic.
plastic bottle. Absolutely. Is it made from potatoes or grapes? Because I want to say that P Diddy was making a grape one.
It says 100% grain neutral spirits.
Ooh. Now that's something that if you wanted to take the easy way out, you can make some apple pie shots with.
Okay.
That'd be pretty good.
Here we go.
All right.
I got to read this real quick.
All right.
Military special vodka.
Mhm.
During Prohibition, our spirits were deemed to be of such good quality that they were used in all military and public health hospitals.
For degreasing engines.
This wonderful quality continues in our products today. In all independent tastings, military special spirits were as good or better than the highest price competitors.
Wow.
My father and I personally called on military bases for a combined total of 115 years and have always supported the military and military charities. We thank you for being our friends and customers.
Oh, wow.
This does not look, this is like $8 for this whole thing. I have drank Tito's, Grey Goose, Crystal Skull, Ocean Vodka. This does not taste anywhere near as good as any of those. And Crystal Skull isn't even any good. Like,
No,
what
it's
are
a
they
novelty.
talking about? Oh my God.
Well, yeah, honestly, funny you mentioned the military aspect of that nature of that bottle there. I don't know if you watch Restaurant Impossible with that giant beefcake of a dude who gets right in your face.
Yeah, I used to. He's got some interesting issues, we'll say.
Yeah. Robert
But
Irving.
I like the show. I like
Yeah.
the show. And he's a big British dude. And he's like,
Mhm.
look, I'll go and make. I can't even do a British accent. He's like, I gotta make 400 bento boxes for a bunch of Japanese businessmen, and I'm a Brit. So here we go.
Right.
Time
It's
to
going to be
start
done by
rolling
2 o'clock
sushi.
tomorrow. And it's always like, Linda, where are all my chairs? I've got no chairs. It's like as if it's a big surprise. You've been given 72 hours to do this. But he had on there, it was this, he went to go help out a guy who owned a diner. Now the guy was ex-military. And he served in Vietnam. And the dude was the one making up the entire menu. So you're like, wow, this is really cool. You know, thank you for your service. Also, thank you for your service. And the thing was, the guy had no sense of smell and no sense of taste because of all the oil burning that happened while he was overseas fighting. So Robert's sitting here trying to eat this food, and it's either way too powerfully salty or way under seasoned or just underdone and dry, as they say in Bob's Burgers. And I feel like maybe he was the guy who would have supported that there bottle of vodka with no taste buds left to speak of.
God, it's really bad. I didn't know vodka could be sour, but it's actually sour. It's
Well,
like,
you could always mix it with some lemon and use it to just disinfect surfaces.
I could. There's that line from Matrix, right? It's good for
Degreasing engines and killing
degreasing
brain
engines.
cells.
Yeah, exactly. Lupu says King of the Hill is slice of life anime. Also, half of Horus Rising is slice of life. Have a nice day. Have a nice identity crisis, lawyer boy. Don't you even at me with half of Horus Rising being slice of life. Garviel Loken. I named a cat after that man. Don't you even dare. Don't you even dare. Mandy Kartovicius says, could you male nerds describe Doctor Who and Monty Python like I'm one of your French girls? What does wibbly wobbly biggest dickus mean?
Oh, man.
Incontinentia buttocks. Yes.
Such as the old weepy anus syndrome, yes.
Okay. Can I explain I can't explain Doctor Who because I don't watch that weird stuff.
Same.
Like, I can explain Monty Python. It's simple. 4 philosophy majors got together to tell jokes. There you go. British nihilistic philosophy majors. Let me clarify. 4 British nihilistic philosophy majors got together to tell jokes. And they did, and they made something beautiful for a while. Now they're all kind of weird because even though they're all 100 and they have infinite credibility, are trying to still pander to wokeism from time to time until it interferes with them. Then they fight back against it, but then they say something woke the next day. I don't know if it's the British in them or if it's just this need to still be loved, but they don't need to do it. They're immune. They're inoculated from cancellation because John Cleese can't be canceled by anybody.
Very well said.
But I have not I've not watched Doctor Who. Carrie Steers. Well, you know it comes out of Texas. Carrie Steers and Joe Biden. What are your feelings about companies catering to people who complain and want to alter a hobby, i.e. Games Workshop, Wizards of the Coast, etc.? Also, what is your favorite Space Marine chapter and why is it Dark Angels? Okay. Can you hit this first part? What are your feelings about companies catering to the people who complain and want to alter a hobby? Jackson Kai, I did miss yours. I'll get to it in just a second. Sorry. Go. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I take exception to, and I mean this exactly how it sounds. I take exception to letting the weak set the pace. Because when you have to cater to somebody who wants to complain and wants to change things because they're either incapable of doing or handling what's being set in front of them, or they're unwilling to do that. It's like the idea of, I'm trying to think of a less vulgar way, but whatever. What you eat does not make me shit.
There is no less vulgar way to say anything. Not on this channel.
Oh well, I guess we are here with what looks like Portland in the background. God rest its soul.
Oh, you mean in the background behind our two frames? I
Yes.
thought you meant in my background. I was like,
No,
damn.
behind your videos.
Wow, the criticism just stabbed right into my ventricles.
No. Well, hey, and while I'm thinking of it real quick, like we can pour one out for Portland and also for Harambe. He took a shot for us, so we should take a shot for him.
Cheers. Rest in peace, you beautiful brother.
Silver-backed. But yeah, with letting the weak set the pace, it forces all the strong and all the able-bodied to now have to dumb down what they're used to and what the status quo is or should be. It's like there's a great analogy of when you were training a bull that had to be yoked, or like a pair of oxen that had to be yoked together to pull either a carriage or a cart. You wouldn't just take two oxen that are brand new to each other and you put them together and you go, because you have total disarray. What you would do is you take a much stronger ox or a much stronger bull that is seasoned, knows the pace, and knows how to do the job. And you would take the more wily one, the younger buck essentially, and you would yoke him with him. When he tries to go faster, the pace of the old one keeps him in line where he needs to be. When he tries to go slower, the pace of the old one pulls him up to where he needs to be. It's the same exact thing where if you break a finger, that finger doesn't hang there limp. It's splinted to the strong finger that's right next to it because it needs support. So if you let the weak set the pace through complaining to change the atmosphere of a workplace, especially if it's under the idea of microaggressions, which are totally subjective from the get-go, or it's to make a more inclusatory space because they don't feel that they can match up to the standards that need to be met on whatever assembly line that they happen to be sending packages out of that day, then you're crippling your fellow workers around you, because not only have you painted a target on your back where every time they see you, they're like, oh man, there's that freaking dude again who just won't shut up about everything here. But
won't just shut up about how much he lifts and why I'm such a puny bitch.
Yeah, but then the other side of it is they're now having to cater to that person's needs, where maybe they were used to being able to plot that firm course before because everybody there was more intent on doing the job to the best of their ability than having to dumb the job down to where they currently weren't. So long way of saying I can't stand when complaining is the sole motivation for making a change for the better or the worse in a work situation.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing with companies catering, especially escapism companies. They should rightly ignore all criticism because you're making art.
Yes.
You're making art, and art, like what art critics exist for whatever reason, but art criticism is all a fiction because I don't care what you derive out of it. It's what I make. It's what I make it into, and you'll derive whatever you want. That's always been a weird thing for me, is because like you can write a poem or a book or a story, whatever it is, someone can read it and take a completely different meaning out of it. In fact, critical theory critical theory in general comes from this idea that we can derive meaning that was not intended out of a thing based on our perceptions of their unconscious thoughts. So we know that people will derive meaning in whatever way they want from whatever we do. So our intended meaning matters for us and us alone, which means we're immune to criticism when we create art. People can say, I don't like this. You might want to change it. And you can say, well, I don't though, because it's my art. Or you could say, well, I do though, because I want to sell to you.
Right.
And that's a decision you can make, and that's perfectly fine, right? People do that all the time, and that's okay. But if you're making art, if you're making a world, an established property, especially something like D&D, which goes back 50 years now.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Something like 40K, which goes back 30 to 40 years and has had all of this work put into it. You don't have to bow to any criticism ever, because they could just not buy it. And guess what? They weren't going to buy it. They never bought it in the first place.
Oh my gosh. That's the thing. It's like, let's raise this stink about something that I don't care about just because it's the hot button topic. For instance, if you're not ready right now to at least stand up, walk out your house and take action on what you claim to really care about, then you're really not that invested in it. And chances are somebody becoming inflamed over something that was said to someone who they don't even know, nor have they ever met, nor are they ever going to meet, letting that then drive them to completely crap all over somebody else. It's like, what do you get out of this? What is to be gained? Why can't you, if people really claim that they want tolerance and they want this whole live and let live society, then they wouldn't say half of the things. They wouldn't say a quarter of the things that they say online, because they would go, oh, different strokes, different folks, different likes, and I can like
different dykes.
Oh, there we go.
It?
Hey,
is that what follows? It
I almost
rhymes,
said
so it must
I almost
be
said
true.
Mike and Ike's, but I just put a cough drop in my mouth, so I guess that doesn't fit either.
No, but it's this whole thing. Like you are not required to bow to a mob. You never were.
Nope.
They're not an economic driver of your success. And every company, this is what bothers me. Every company who has resisted the mob has found that they're just as successful today as they were the day before. And every company who bows to the mob does not find greater success. That's the crazy thing. It's like the amount of resources that were going to be allocated to you when it comes down to it, economics is real, right? The allocation of scarce resources, and people will buy their necessities and then their hobbies based not on what their hobby's woke level is, but rather based on what they can allocate to those things. Yep. And they will spend to the maximum, right?
Oh, they will.
People will determine that their hobby is worth X amount of dollars to them, no matter how good or bad or woke or unwoke it is. And it takes a lot to break that hobby's trust.
Seriously.
And so all of these companies need to just stop. Just make your thing.
Yep.
And you don't have to pander or cater.
Seriously.
Jackson Kai says, I actually think Paul was very progressive in order to reach those previously unreachable. Also, Paul was very progressive.
He was all things to all people.
What we do with Paul and what we do with the Bible a lot of times is we use presentism, or the historian's fallacy. And we say, when I look back on Paul, I see him as misogynistic. And it's like, yeah, but in the times he wasn't, though. In the times he was actually probably fairly progressive. He's stating women can't be leaders, but women have a place, which is not like contemporary levels of Roman or Judaistic society in clergy or whatever. But anyway, also, I firmly believe in the law is written on our hearts. People punish themselves more than you'd think, and know wrong is wrong. So.
Yep, we reserve more judgment and hatred for ourselves than even hell has to offer.
Real quick, back to Carrie Steers. What is your favorite Space Marine chapter, and why is it Dark Angels? It's actually not Dark Angels, though I think they're funny. And I just finished Luther the other day, which was a great book. Great book. I really, really like what they did with Luther. And I would love to post something about it on my media channel if it hadn't gotten deleted today while I was out with my kids shopping. But working on getting that back. I I thought Luther was a great book and a great look at the Dark Angels. But my favorite chapter is, of the primary chapters, I think it's the Salamanders. One, because it's the only one you can safely say while remaining woke, because they are black. So that's the main thing. But no, I find the Salamanders funny, and I really like the lore of the Vulcan Hestan character who goes around the Earth goes around the universe consorting with filthy Xenos to try and find the lost relics of Vulcan. I think it's very cool. Okay. We have been talking for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
We have been.
The show is normally 3 hours long, and I have a bunch of super chats to read. So I am going to start reading them in just a second. And you are welcome to stay through that. But if you have to go, let me know.
Please, I'm here for the long haul.
That's the best answer you could possibly give. That being said, to the chat, as we're delving into this, one more time, I urge you to check out the description, check out Eric's channel, and see what he's doing. This is a guy, if you like what he's saying here, I'm guessing you're going to like what he's saying there, because he seems like he's probably a pretty consistent individual on this stuff. And you should check it out. He's a voice talking from inside the industry. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to ask you. Oh,
hit me. I'm all ears.
Okay, so here we go. You're a guy who's in the industry and has been canceled from the industry. What the hell is going on in anime voice acting in the United States? What is it?
Wokeism has grabbed it by the cojones and is leading it. There is no more objective truth to be had. It's all subjective. And like you were saying about businesses who simply can't just create a thing and let people enjoy it or not enjoy it, inside the world of anime and entertainment as a whole, they are trying way too hard to fit the mold of those who are bitching the loudest, those who don't care. And in effect, they are destroying the relationship with those who simply wanted to turn it on for that escape.
There you go, guys. That's the kind of summary I wanted. We know it. You guys have been watching it for the past couple years now. We're coming up the Vic stuff, which happened, here on my channel. We're coming up on 3 years. 3 years. I didn't even get into the questions of things that we had talked about yesterday. This idea that people hold on to things and they come back to things. Maybe we'll have to do another chat sometime and talk about why people go back. I have this theory, this psychoanalysis or sociological analysis of going back for the easy win. And I base it on my own experience, right? I played a text game, a MUD. Have you heard of MUDs?
MUDs. I've never heard of that.
Have you heard of World of Warcraft?
Yes.
Have you heard of EverQuest?
Yes.
Okay. So EverQuest is like one of the first big massive multiplayer games. I mean, sure, there's like Gemstone and there's RuneScape or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
RuneScape.
But EverQuest is this system that basically put graphics to like a MUD. MUD is a multi-user dungeon. It was a text-based role-playing game that you would play online. And EverQuest was like a MUD, but with graphics that you run around in 3D and do it. So I played a MUD for like 20 years. And the reason I would play it for like 20 years is because it was an easy win. So whenever I would take a break for 6 months or 8 months or whatever, doing something. But then like, if you have a bad time, it's like, well, I can go back to this thing where I have success and where I have some, I have this powerful character that I've built and this investment that I've made. And even if I don't, I know how to build one up again.
Mm-hmm.
I can get that win. And I think that's happening in real time with Twitter, with the leftist, I guess, or the wokest crowd, is that they hold on to these things because they get a win, right? Like, so
Mhm.
like, let's say you're going to go ahead and you're going to tweet about Johnny Depp.
Mhm.
And you tweet about Johnny, you're like a nobody Twitter account, but you tweet about Johnny Depp and you're like, this bigot beat Amber Heard because she's a woman or something like that, right? And you get 500 likes on it. You've never experienced this in your entire life. 500 people paying attention to you because you're a wokist, and so this is new. And so then you're like, oh well, please send money to my Venmo, because have you noticed that with viral tweets, right?
Yep.
The
Mhm.
second tweet is always, well, while you're here, here's my book project. It's like, no one's here for your book, buddy. They just like your viral tweet or whatever.
Mhm.
But anyway, so they don't have success with their Venmo or their book project or whatever. And then they go back and they tweet about their next thing. They get 2 likes, 3 likes, what they're used to. And
Yep.
then suddenly they're like, man, when I talked about this, when I talked about Johnny Depp, I got 500
Oh,
likes. So then
preach,
they
preach.
talk about Johnny Depp again, right? The next time. And it's this easy go-to. Like, this is how I win. YouTubers do this too. You'll find this. I've done this. This is not I'm not immune to criticism. In various times when you're like, you're putting you're busting your ass, you're making these videos, and you're trying to make something new, and like you're just not getting the engagement, and you can
Mhm.
dip in this well and go, if I do this though, people will pay attention. Like right now, I could probably make a video and put Rittenhouse in the title, and maybe I'd have to make it about Dominic Black or something. And preview, I might be making one of these videos in the next couple days. Not that my other videos are doing bad. My video on Jussie Smollett right now is doing great, but I could probably make one of these and do above average, right? I
Mhm.
just know
Mhm.
that I could do above average.
It's the incendiary nature of it that people just, it's like a juicy little morsel. They're gonna have it.
Yeah, and I think that this is feeding this sort of cancel culture thing. And like, again, we're not talking specifically about the Vic situation, but it's what I've been seeing a lot of is these people who go after him. They target him, and they've done big things in the past, and so they have certain followers who followed because of that tweet that they did. So now they're like, oh well, he's got an appearance coming up. I have to, if I have to involve myself in his canceling at this appearance, I'll get that interaction again. They know that, and so then they do. And I think that is part of the pervasive nature of social media and how it drives us to be worse people,
Mhm.
because Twitter is made for dunking, not discussing.
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna use that if that's okay.
No, it's not okay. You have to pay me. Mail me a nickel every time you say it.
I
No,
tell
of
you what,
course,
let me get your
you do.
address after this. I'll mail you one of my custom bullwhips. That's what I'll do.
Oh, good, good. I'll talk to Lady Domesticus Rackets, and she'll get the bullwhip out. Yeah, use it, because that's what it is. I hate trying to converse on Twitter. Even today, there were people talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff and Dominic Black specifically, and it's there's a defense attorney out there like, oh, this looks like a straw purchase. And I'm like, it really doesn't look anything like a straw purchase. And I'm talking about it, and I'm just thinking, I'm thinking through this, and I'm like, how are you here? Like, how are you still here? But them talking about Rittenhouse, them engaging in this conversation has been big for them.
Mhm.
And it's this weird thing. And I'm like, no, this is not what you need to do. This is not where you need to be. You're doing this wrong, and you're doing it on purpose. And it's frustrating because you're giving bad info.
Yep.
But I'm trying to navigate these conversations, right? And I'm like, how in 250 characters do I try? Like, because this is a person I've never interacted with, and what I try to do with someone like that, unless they're an obvious troll or idiot,
Sure.
I try and interact with them in a positive way first, and I let them interact negatively before I do. But I'm like trying to word my way, like, talking to someone in good faith and peace, is hard to do in 250 characters. It's really hard to do, but it's really easy to say, lol, you're a fat idiot.
Yup. Oh
Yeah.
man. And like if I may just to attach to that point.
You may.
Thank you. Grazie. Mille grazie. Um it's like you were saying, they get so much more, call it attention, call it that rush of dopamine, call it a sixth sense of satisfaction for saying the most inflammatory things, but also when it comes to the idea of they go low, or sorry, yeah, they go low, we go high, taking that high road, because I know that none of us are perfect, and people on the left side of the spectrum can be tyrants. People on the right side of the spectrum can be tyrants too. Um, just because somebody does not align with your way of thinking, or just because somebody has said something that you disagree with, or just because somebody is a part of an umbrella company that you have a problem with one or two of the employees with, does not give anybody any credence or permission to reach out to that person behind the scenes, threaten their livelihoods, threaten their lives, threaten them with death or rape or burning their house down. That is unacceptable to do, and that is a very scummy thing to do. If anybody out there who is claiming to want to be this bastion of hope and truth, if you're doing that, know that that makes you a scummy person, and cut that out. Because if they're going low, we don't want to go lower. If you have a powerful voice, which you do when applied properly, then use it properly, not to intimidate, not to threaten, and not to negatively coerce, but use it to instruct, give a firm rebuke when it's necessary, not for malicious sake, but to correct. That's what I got for you.
That's the thing I've said often is you don't, well, first of all, you don't make threats online, because
Yep.
threats online are cringe.
Oh, God, yeah.
Cringe and gay pilled or whatever. Don't do that. But
Yep.
two, you don't go bother people where they work. You don't go bother people where
Yes.
they live.
Great way of putting it.
And you can be critical of people. Certainly, of course, we can always be critical of people.
Absolutely.
But going into like things that could be actionable is just dumb for yourself.
Yeah.
So,
And going out of
never
your
do
way
that.
to be a dick, like, it's like, come on, what again, I ask,
I never
what
go
do
out of my way to be a dick.
No, you sit right in that
It's
chair.
always in my way. I plow right through it.
Oh, I almost missed that one as I knock my pop filter.
No, this is one thing I've honestly tried to do. The funny thing is, the law Twitter people who I've interacted with on the Vic stuff don't ever remember this, but some of the biggest voices on that, the first thing I did was say, hey, come on the show and talk to us. Talk to me.
Mhm.
Tell me what I'll treat you with respect. I'll respect your opinions. Let's do it. They universally turned me down and said, you're an idiot or whatever. So once they did that, look, I'm happy to engage in banter and tell them that they're stupid, that they're equally stupid, that they're fat or whatever. I didn't ever start that way. I don't. I let them take me to the low road, and then, well, I'm happy to hold your hand and walk with you.
Sure.
But one thing that you said that I really liked, don't go lower, right? You just let them invite you to where they are. And if you engage in that, sure, you get a little back and forth and it's fine, but you
Mhm.
don't need to go to the point of wishing someone harm or again, don't bother these people at their conventions. Don't
Yep.
bother them in their homes, in their lives. That's not what you need to do. That's never on the table as a valid thing. It only gives them a platform to complain about what's happening to them. And people just shouldn't be put in apprehension for their opinions, even if their opinions are egregious. You just combat their opinions where they are.
Absolutely.
In my opinion. That's me. But all right, let's read through these super chats.
Let's do it.
NQS says, say with lisp, Nick, you're supposed to start at 21 o'clock, not at gay o'clock. Twilight Dragon 3 says, Eric, do you expect any kind of backlash for being on my show?
To a degree, yes. But I have made myself very, very clear even through just the course of this talk, that I am not here to take pot shots at Funimation. I'm not here to take pot shots at Okratron. I'm
And
not
we
here
haven't.
to take no, and we haven't. And I'm not here to try and drag any corporation through the mud. My message here, which I hope is rung loud and true, is that for those of us who feel like we have no voice, you in fact do have a voice. You get to choose whether you want to bend the knee or you want to stand on a principle. And if if I can provide any kind of encouragement to that, know that you have somebody in the fight alongside of you. So long as when you do say what you say and do what you do it from a place of truth. In so much as you never ever willfully lie through your actions or your words. That's the point of this.
Amazing. It's amazing that's been one of the things people ask me. They're like, well, do you have any advice for YouTube or whatever? I'm starting a channel, man. Do you have any advice? Be honest, be who you are.
Yes.
Like, and here's the thing. People may not like who you are. They may not listen to what you say. But at least you're not lying about it. You're not being, because if you do, you'll be found out. You will be found out. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take many internet autisms to find you out. It really does not.
If people can track down that guy who was killing cats on his Facebook live stream, they can find you for damn near anything.
Yep, they will. And they will. Anthony Murray says, Nick has the easiest surname to pronounce. It's pronounced as Leighton Gay. Andy Katovichus says, hello, Nick. Nice Kim Jong-un toupee nerd. Listen, Mandy, don't make me treat you like that guy who smuggled in Squid Game. Get on the wall, bigot. Get wrecked. Rose Bibe says, you can go farther. I'm in Brownsville. I can step into Mexico. Look, no, Brownsville doesn't exist because Corpus Christi is as far south as the world goes. Don't go to Corpus. It sucks. Brownsville is even hotter and drier. Ugh. The longest drive I've ever taken, though, was from Houston to Beaumont and Port Arthur.
Wow.
So you go, like, look, and I have driven from Minnesota to Florida. It's faster. I swear to God. Because you go to Houston and you have to drive all the way around the bay to Port Arthur or whatever. And that bay sucks. And then you get to Port Arthur and you're like, strip club, Baptist church, Catholic church, liquor store, daycare. This is the weirdest city I've ever been to.
It's like going to Pigeon Forge, a neon t-shirt stand on every corner, along with the Hatfields and the McCoys dinner show.
Yeah. Munchlax says, just ring the bell if you need anything. Squally says, shillings for the cast member, former photo pass, hated getting Splash Mountain, 0 tree coverage.
Yes.
So speaking of Disney, I rode Splash Mountain in the California Disney, like I think the second week of its operation.
All right.
And we stood in that line for, I swear to God, 4 hours because my uncle wanted to be the first person on his block he lived in Cupertino, I think at the time.
Okay.
Who had ridden Splash Mountain.
Oh, man.
And we rode it and I was like, I'm a little kid, right? I'm like, this was a waste of time. Oh my God. Austin SA says, do you know the voice actress Tia Ballard? I matched with her on a bunch of dating apps over the years, but never got that right swipe. Hashtag hook me up. Do you know Tia Ballard?
I do. She actually directed me in a wonderful show called A3, stands for Act Addict Actors. She is a terrific human being. I don't have her personal info though, so I can't help you.
That was a nice voice. I like that. I don't know what it was, but it was horrifying. What was that? Is there like some sort of name or inspiration you have for that?
I always called that my sexy stoma man.
Oh yeah, there.
So, here's what I'm thinking. If we get a bucket of chicken, maybe
right for us.
Rent some movies on Cinemax, and please see where the night goes.
I hate and love every second of that. Hey, this is a weird question, but since I have the bladder of a pregnant woman, Can you fill time for just a minute? I'll be right back.
Well, hell yeah, absolutely, I can fill time. Well, first of all, thank you so much, chat, for having me tonight. This has been a lot of fun. Um, it's been a wild ride since my wife and I got down here to Dallas, Texas, and I would not trade any of the good times or the bad times for anything in the world. Because if you take stock of your life, you take some personal inventory, and you look back even over the last 6 months, you can see so many things that are leading up to this perfect present moment that you're in. Now, if you're working real hard, as I've said a number of times, to live and operate from a basis in truth and live and operate from in a basis of honesty to yourself and those around you, then even the things that feel like they are total blunders, even the things that feel like they are the biggest pitfalls in your life, they are still leading to this perfect present. Um, I look back at a lot of the mistakes that I made, a lot of things that used to haunt me for the longest time, keep me up at night, and make me feel as though I was less than. And now looking back at all of that, I realize, had I not destroyed my life and lived harder than I probably should, way too early on, I would not have met my beautiful wife. I would not have the beautiful son that I have, who's going to be 9 months old next week. So don't discount the journey. Don't miss the forest for the trees, and treasure every single win that you have as though it will never ever happen again. Um, I left Cressida with this quote the other night, and I'll give it to you guys now before the show is over. But it's, if you ever catch hell, do not hold it. And if you're going through hell, don't stop. Because if flames can rise, then so can you. It's not about the circumstances, it's about what you're made of. Because that same boiling water that softens a potato, it hardens the egg.
Well, the egg must be very turned on.
Can you hear this?
I have no idea what I just walked back into, but I'm good with it. You could have taken that in any direction.
I could have.
Like you could have been like, by the way, here's a link to my OnlyFans. You can find me at Eric Rolon feet pics on OnlyFans. I do ASMR and yoga, and that means that I lick between my toes.
Oh,
Uh,
real good at chewing styrofoam with a close-up of this here fake tooth.
Disgusting. Dapper Wolf says, "Hey Eric, tell Nick why he should watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Also call him an uncool lame boomer if he doesn't."
You should definitely check that one out, because that one is a sleeper anime. I was not expecting that to be as alluring as it is, but
Alluring. Have you
alluring.
seen JoJo?
Yes.
Like, it's the gayest anime I've ever seen in my
It's
life.
got a lot of heart to it, though. It's
a lot of heart.
Hey, it's better than watching One Punch Man.
What did you just say?
I said it's better than watching One Punch Man.
Hmm.
We can throw down on some Minecraft or something.
Look, I'm just saying. Look, there's a list of guests that'll never return in this show. Okay.
I take back everything I said. My opinions are formed by those around me.
Sheena says, "Are you concerned that people in Funimation will blacklist you for your opinions?"
Man, if I was concerned about that, I'd have never come on here.
But because they, like, for the most part, like, the people who will already have, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's already done. Like, this is after the fact.
Like I said in my tweet today, I've been nailing my own coffin shut since 2020 in October.
How about you're not alone, right? Like, your viewpoint, it seems that way because people have been thoroughly browbeaten, right? But you're not alone in your views over at Funimation. How many people out there like are just treading water, right?
Oh goodness.
Because I've heard some rumors about people who I forgive me, I always have to frame this as the Vic thing, but after the Vic thing, basically shut their doors and don't leave their office.
There's a larger number than anybody really wants to admit. And I I have to respect people for not wanting to jeopardize their careers and speaking out one way or the other for what they stand for in the
You got
political
to eat.
sphere.
You got to
You do
eat.
have to eat, and some people in choosing to defend their stance on Christianity, or choosing to support a cause one way or the other. Um, I know that for them, having to swallow the crow that comes along with that is scary because you've got family people there, and hey, they're trying to make that life. They're trying to keep the lights on. So I can't bemoan anybody. Um, they're
Is there look, without naming names, is there anything you would say to those people who are still in the fight, or not in the fight, who are still in the fire, right? Or in the frying pan, I guess, who are still in there, who are and I agree. Like,
Mhm.
you do not need to sacrifice your career. You should always make sure you're eating before you go.
Mhm.
Principles are a luxury, right?
Yep.
That's how communism kind of wins, is people have to eat at the end of the day. But
Mhm.
we're not on full scale communism here. This is a different magnitude.
Yeah,
But you have to eat. So while you're still eating, though, do you have any words of encouragement for those
I
people?
do. And I say this encouragement goes, I think, for any workplace, anywhere. And that's, if the nature of the work that you do and the nature of either saying something or not saying something puts your own integrity in check, then whatever that job is, whatever that situation is that you're so beholden to, it is not worth it. Because end of the day, if you have to rest on your laurels to make ends meet, in my opinion, the job is really not worth having for that toll that you have to pay with your soul.
I like that. I like that because you took the idea that everybody needs to eat. You also said that you may need to eat, but there are other ways to eat, and this one isn't worth it in the long run. And so while you're here, I mean, I get that you're here. I respect that you're not out to destroy your own life by saying the wrong thing. However, there there is a world outside of this. And I can't wait. I cannot wait till a competitor comes up. A competitor that doesn't engage in this stuff, because I think that competitor will be horrifically compelling. And I'm eagerly awaiting the day. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm eagerly awaiting the day.
Well, I tell you,
I hope I get
competitors, that's what makes you, that's what spurs you on to be better. Like,
Well, the
I
funny thing about Funimation, and I've talked about this on the channel, is that there right now are 3 dogs in the field of anime, especially since Funimation or Sony acquired Crunchyroll. You
oh, yeah,
really have
forgot
you
about
have
that.
Funimation, you have Amazon Prime, and you have Netflix. And Netflix is the holy grail, because Netflix for Japan, right?
Oh,
Netflix
okay, sure,
Netflix pays more than Funimation, and Netflix pays more than Amazon for licensing. They have more resources. They're the biggest dog in
sure.
the field, and so there's this thing. But for now, Funimation is able to grab up all these properties, because if Netflix isn't buying it and Amazon isn't buying it, then Netflix has no competitive market. And so they get to buy, like, Funimation gets to use their resources strategically on big properties, but on everything else, they get to bid down against nothing. And so they wait and wait and wait, and they can scoop it up, and it's not that expensive. The moment a real competitor comes in, that's going to change. And that's what I'm looking for, is that mid-tier competitor, or lower tier competitor, who competes for all of those other properties that Funimation doesn't really treat very well. Like, they might dub them and put them out, but this isn't Attack on Titan, right? They're
Mhm.
not they're not dumping resources into this thing. They're doing it, they're voicing it, and it's all good, and they put it out. Um, or things like they did with Interspecies Reviewers, where they which is, to me, like, again, you buy the license and then you cancel it after 3 episodes or 4 episodes or whatever. It's like, well, why don't you shed the license and let someone else do it? I mean, if that's what you're going to do, but they won't. And so I want someone else to come out and buy those anime, to buy those things that the fans want to see and will laugh at and enjoy, and actually put love and work into them, where I don't think Funimation is doing that in a lot of instances. So that's what I'm looking for.
I see. Well, it's kind of like with Nintendo. For the longest time, they were really just the top dog on the street. You didn't see anything else, and then suddenly PlayStation comes out of nowhere. I mean, it's born and bred of Sony. And then you have another competitor like Xbox, and then you saw the quality of games and content start going through the roof. It was no longer about quantity, because for a while there, PlayStation, they were making one crappy Disney game after another. Everything was a platformer. You had to collect X amount of whatever, get onto the next screen. Oh, we got a few sound bites from the movie that you're playing this game of, but there was no soul and no heart to it. Once you had those big three start really standing and banging, then it was like, okay, we can't just feed people this gruel anymore. We've got to make this a full course meal.
What I love about that is that Xbox has so thoroughly outplayed Sony with the Xbox cloud gaming stuff. They say, I don't even care if you buy our consoles anymore. You can play them on your phone. And I was showing my friend Drexel this the other day. I was like, bro, you could take your phone or your tablet or whatever. I was using a phone because tablets are degenerate. And you can take your phone, you Bluetooth in a controller, and I'm playing Gears of War 5 at 60 FPS on my phone. And I'm like,
wow,
you can do anything with this cloud gaming. It's amazing. And now what is Sony trying to do? They're playing catch up, but they don't realize it, or they do. They're trying to not acknowledge that Microsoft is like 5 years ahead of them. Microsoft has been buying up every game studio they can possibly get their hands on. They've been building partnerships where they can't buy up game studios. And so the Xbox cloud gaming has full of all of these things. They bought Bethesda. And so Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a Microsoft exclusive, which is embarrassing for Sony.
Man,
but
that's going to be a huge launch. Holy cow.
But the crazy thing is, if Sony will have it, I bet Microsoft will allow them to put the Xbox cloud gaming app on a Sony platform, because it only makes sense. Like, yeah, no, you can actually play our stuff on Sony platforms too, because the console doesn't matter to Microsoft. It hasn't mattered at all. The Series X is cool, but it doesn't actually matter that you can't buy one, because you could just stream the majority of their games straight into your computer, your laptop, your tablet, maybe even your TV, because all it's doing is sending you video.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to render anything.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Sony have, at least in some small part, a share in Xbox, given that they're the ones who pioneered Blu-ray?
I don't know how that works, because I mean, they might, but with any licensing of the Blu-ray standard, but since most games are going to download only anyway,
yeah, well,
it's kind of obviating it. The Xbox Series S doesn't have a disc drive at all. There's no optical slot.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, the X has an optical drive, which is why I want another one, by the way, just because my Xbox One just crapped out. And it was my downstairs Blu-ray player that the kids use. So now I'm looking for another Series X so that they have one downstairs to play games on and to watch movies on. But anyway, yeah. So even the Blu-ray proprietary stuff. I mean, look, I know there are purists out there who are like, oh, physical media. I love physical media. It's better. And it is better. It's uncompressed. It's lossless audio. It's all wonderful. But the majority of people, and I mean, not even close, we're talking 90 to 95% of people consume their HD content via Netflix, Amazon, HBO Max, Stars on Demand, whatever it is. That's what they're watching. They're not going in and like, I'm going to pull out my Avatar DVD and put it in. Nobody wants to do that. It's a pain in the ass. Yep. Now, if you have a home theater set up and you have a cool Plex server, whatever, great. Sure, I love you. You're in the severe minority of people. And for market purposes, Sony's gonna they enjoyed the Blu-ray bomb for a while, and now it's going away. Most of the movies that you want or that you watch, you're not going to even you might have that list. Even if you are one of those purists, you might have that list of movies. Like, I want this in Ultra HD, Blu-ray,
Sure, yep,
4K.
or 3D.
Right. It's great. It's super cool. But most of the movies you consume are probably not going to be that, because you don't want to pay 20 to 30 bucks a movie when most of them you can watch basically for free.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I guess my only wonder is, and I guess this kind of goes hands in hand with the whole cancel culture aspect of something, but what, and like, God forbid this happens, but how weird would it be that, say, somebody, they're super, say it's like a gamer like PewDiePie, they're super, super prolific inside the gaming circle, and they've got their entire catalog is all download only games. Like, is it possible for somebody at the server to suddenly just take offense to whatever his politics are and then just shut off his access to all that he had downloaded? Like, is that
it's a reality.
possibility?
It's a possibility, and it's absolutely the risk of digital content consumption. Make no mistake, I'm not saying that it's the better way to do things.
Yeah.
But, and I already see
It's
it in the
convenient,
chat.
though.
Already see it in the chat. People are like, why buy a $75 game when you don't own it? Blah, 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 blah. Listen, the reality is that you are right. You're 100% right. We saw this with the Kindle. The first book that Amazon recalled from the Kindle because of an issue was 1984. Because of course it was.
Wow.
Of course it was. But you're right. Physical media is superior. It's better in every single way. 95, maybe 90 at the low end % of Americans don't care.
Yep.
They don't care, because it's easier to just scroll through Netflix and go, oh yeah, I'm going to watch this. They're not even looking for the movie that they want. They're looking for a movie that they will watch.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not willing to fork out the $20 to drive to the Target, to order from Amazon and wait 2 days. They just don't. They just don't. You do, and you are right. I am not saying you're wrong ever. You have the better thing. The media can be edited later on Netflix. I hate that Netflix and Amazon are removing episodes of various shows, classic iconic shows, for racist content or whatever stupid nonsense there is, because it's not actually there. But they're going to do that all the time, and having physical media would be better, but most people just won't do it.
Yep.
And it's crazy. Super Sentai guy says, sorry Funimation cut you off. I got cut off from them as well. Not entirely sure why. Probably due to political beliefs.
Well, let me
know
make
who that
some
is.
real clear real quick. It's not that Funimation cut me off. It's that ne'er-do-wells within the entire construct could not keep their lips from flapping, and it unfortunately affected my career in a negative capacity. So, like, let me just want to make it clear, like, no ire towards Funimation as a whole. They had nothing to do with it.
Right. Well, because casting at Funimation isn't done by Funimation. It's done by the specific director of the project that's on it. The director works with the casting director, and they go, oh, okay, this person. So if those people have an issue with you, it's not really Funimation doing it. It's the person in charge of the project. And Funimation or Okratron or whoever's doing whatever particular thing. Calismore and Rex says, pretty sure telling people to talk to their own doctors is bannable. Listen to the CDC or else. Jackson Kai says, Nick, you need to have Eric on again. Bless this man. Also, we need to make you watch at least his character on My Hero Academia. Dapper Wolf says, Nick, did you hear about the Switzerland Minecraft machine? What are your thoughts? I said Swedish. The Swedish Minecraft machine. The Swedish one has gravy in it. That's how it kills you. You get in there and it fills up with the beef gravy and you die. What are your thoughts? And do people have the legal right to Minecraft themselves? I don't want anybody to kill themselves. I really don't. But like at the end of the day, I'm pretty libertarian. I don't understand why I should stand in their way legally from doing so. So if they don't have a machine, I guess they'd eat a bullet. I don't know. It's a weird one. I don't know how to address that. I don't know why I should infringe on someone who wants to off themselves.
Yeah, if it's
Like,
their body, their choice.
I just wish they wouldn't. That's
Yeah.
it. Because I think people make that decision in haste and in dark places. And look, I've been in some dark places in my life, and I know that there's a better place coming up. That's my solace these days is when things are not going well. I'm like, things have not gone well before, but then they've gotten better after that. So I'm just looking for the next peak after this valley. So I don't like them on a moral and principled standpoint, but legally, yeah, I can't say how you would take a right away to end your own life. It's weird. Squizgar2322 says Christians being hypocrites impossible. Ryan KK Kennel says shout out to the homie Nick R. Thoughts on Jussie. Jussie Sommelier is a liar and a grandstander, and he will hopefully get what's coming to him. Jury deliberations start tomorrow for Jussie Sommelier. The case is over, so we'll hopefully get a verdict very soon. V's Flat Desk Pepsi says hashtag get Vic on. Ethan Dog says cool channel, Eric. I love Halo. Can't wait to play Infinite tomorrow. Subscribed.
Thank you.
Thomas Furman says Rec and Eric, great stream. I'll acknowledge your pronouns if you ask, but you tell me what I am required to call you without common decorum. F you.
I sexually identify as an attack helicopter.
There you go. That's good. I sexually identify as someone better at sex than me. Z Michael Gelke says you can't see it as a tragedy that the empire of clay and iron falls, but I admire your attitude. Okay. Bad Dragonite says for Eric, how do you feel about the One Piece rap?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't either. All I know is I hate One Piece. I hate it. Who did you voice in One Piece?
I play a character named Hideo.
I don't even know who that is, and I hate One Piece so much.
If you look up, the arc is called the Dressrosa arc. He ends up joining up in some capacity with the Straw Hat Pirates. He's got like 2 elbows, so he can stick his arms out way far, and his move is called Destruction Cannon, where it's like an explosion comes off the end of his fist with every bomb he drops into people.
You know why I hate One Piece?
Tell me.
It's the animation. I don't like the look of it. I don't like the art style. It's weird. It's weird.
Well, the show's been out like almost. I want to say it's almost
don't
been
even
out because
it's weird.
It's an
right?
old show. Yeah, it is weird. Like
okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
Yes,
clip it.
It's weird.
Clip it and ship it. It's weird looking anime. I don't like it. Look, I don't care how good it is. Like, oh, if you just watched episode 400, it'll be great. No, stop. I don't want to watch it. I don't like it. Read the manga. Oh, yeah. Like, I need a pile of books. I need a pile of books to go to the ceiling in my office to read the manga.
There you go.
Snowboard Dan says, new haircut. It's actually the old haircut. I just hadn't had it cut in a while. You in the zone, Chief. Let's do a Jaeger bomb. Oh, disgusting.
Oh.
Wear your sunglasses at night so you can wear my sunglasses at night.
So I can...
Yeah. Ryusei says, Eric, please share the full gospel with those here who don't know the Lord. Pretend those watching have 3 minutes to live.
Tell you what the full gospel is, and this is actually straight from Paul's mouth. Gospel is God came to earth, he died for your sins, and he was resurrected for your sins. That's the full gospel right there.
Nailed it. Marla says Billy Graham's entire purpose was evangelism. He sent people to churches to be discipled. Why would the church's failings be his fault? Look, I'll field this question because I can be unpopular. Billy Graham preached a philosophy that by grace and faith alone, by a profession of faith, and then by grace alone, you are saved from no matter what you have ever done and no matter what you would do. going into the future. It's a very easy and convenient form of Christianity, and it kind of conflicts with some of the things that Paul says, that by grace and faith alone we are saved, but by works we know our fruits. And if we are, the long and short extrapolation of that is, if you are actually faithfully saved by grace, then your works and fruits will bear in the reflection of that saving. And so it's to take off the second part of Paul and to just focus on this first part, the easiest part in the world. And it comes to those the philosophical question that there was some like populist theologian out there who was like, well, the logical way to approach Jesus Christ is that, what does it harm you to do this? Because if you're
Pascal's
right,
wager.
yeah, Pascal's wager. There you go. If
Yep.
you're right, you go to heaven, and if you're wrong, nothing is bad. That's a weak and watered down form of Christianity. It is not what Jesus talked about. It is not what Paul talked about. It ignores things like a call to ministry and decency, and a ministry and decency that are not designed to bear fruit. Like, they might bear fruit, but you're not supposed to minister and be decent to people because it will benefit you or your purpose. You're just supposed to do it because that's it. That's the sole reason, is because. And I think that's the issue. That's always been my like cynical like, I'm not out here saying Billy Graham's a bad guy or anything like that, but I do think that he bred a generation of Christians that then made those churches that have failed.
If I may, also kind of to your point there, because I do hold to Paul's view in Romans 6, where he essentially talks about, by grace we are saved, and your faith is what saves you. He says, we're justified by faith. Even Christ goes on further to say, I myself cannot pluck you from my hand. So we do know that the grace exists there, for when we're on the up and up and when we're on the down and out. However, the distinction that has been made between Paul and what James talks about, where you see people getting this idea of, are James and Paul in conflict? Which they're not. And people often will say, oh, James makes Christianity out to be a works-based belief structure. What it really comes down to is that you're saved by grace. Once a Christian, you cannot then unbecome a Christian. You're fit for glory. However, what James then stresses is, yes, you are saved by grace. However, like you said, your works are the demonstration of your faith, and your works are what secure your rewards in heaven. Because the Bible tells us, even inside in Deuteronomy, Proverbs, and even inside Revelation, that while you will still get there, you can lose the rewards that were once due to you through the works that you've then acted out and committed, which is why Paul says, hey, even knowing that grace exists, does that mean that we just get a free license to act like buffoons? By no means. How can we who were once alive in sin, who are now dead to it, still be alive in it? So I know
did you consider, though, that James is a nerd?
well, James is also the brother of Jesus. So,
Yeah, but like, that's like, listen, I was born Catholic. I know the
Heather,
scoop.
do you have any hidden talents? Tell me.
I know the scoop on that whole brother of Jesus
All
thing.
right,
It's
sure,
not
yeah.
like a real brother. Malik,
Got the Apocrypha under your pillow at night.
only like 6 of the Apocrypha. There's the
Sure,
other
just the book of
there's
gesture.
there's the Apocrypha, which the Catholics don't listen to. Malik Foxon says, this is a great show. Hoping you have Eric on again soon, despite his wrong opinion on One Punch Man and JoJo. Christ will forgive you, brother.
Thank you.
Next, we've got Dapper Wolf says, adonatology. Ellie In says, anyone want some jelly donuts? Wolfgang Deo says, still Pearl Harbor Day here, bigot. TJL says, Shinji is voiced by a woman in Japan. Shinji is a woman in the United States. Weebry says, thank you for the answers. I appreciate the insight. I hope you don't mind if I use the clip for a video. Do whatever you want. I don't care. C. Hennessy says, thoughts on Gundam? It's what got me into politics. I never watched. I watched Gundam Wing. It was fun. I didn't watch any other Gundams. You watch Gundam?
I watched Gundam Wing. That was the only one that I really watched either. And I was totally zoned out whenever it got to the political side of things. I just really liked the giant robots fighting each other.
Dapper Wolf says, Nick and Eric, do you believe in gravity? Only true men of culture will understand that reference.
I do. I do believe in gravity.
I believe in gravity because I have seen women age. Ghislaine Maxwell. Maxwell says, so happy I could finally find a chat that accepted me. Bad Dragonite says, maybe Eric can help you make 40K cosplay armor. The helmet will be the hardest part. Gonna have to be a Raven Guard. Stop it. Very rude. Very rude. Wingless Shinigami says, what are Eric Roland's thoughts on lines in games being altered because of certain communities, fans, translators getting kicked for using OG dialogue? We talked about that earlier, the localization thing.
Same stance as I had for anime.
Jennifer Gunter, thank you for the donation. Bad Dragonite says, one preacher here said they started in ministry so they could drive nice cars. She's also never paid rent, then played victim when she was evicted. V's Flat Desk Pepsi says, ask the Fuda questions, Nick. We did. Z Michael Gelke says, the WHO always knew extended mass home time was a QALY negative treatment. That's why they recommended against it. Jonathan Duver says, they don't care about the kids, particularly the ones at most risk. In fact, they prefer to do horrific things to them and have all levels of government cover it up. Thomas Finton says, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live on in infamy. Can I please get an F in the chat for all those lost during such an infamous attack? May the dead rest in peace, and may we never experience such again. So there you go. That's for Thomas Fenton. F's in chat for the dead of Pearl Harbor. Asia Frazier says, a great segue into a Ridge Wallet ad. Not today, Asia Frazier. Dapper Wolf says, God forgives, man condemns. Capiche? Like yin and yang, the purposes of the heavens and the earth collide and create a balance. He also says, mere mortals can only seek salvation, but in the same vein can condemn those to hell. God is merely a roadmap or guide for one to follow. Dog Backwards says, cat. I don't know what that means. New dislike button says, hey, remember me? Remember last night when I said the left is creating a community of depressed people who hate life? Looks like we agree. Oh, yeah. Dude, the funniest thing is when someone who is talking out about me, specifically in the anime space or the legal space, they're like, oh, that awful person, Nick Ricade. If you go back and look at their tweets, as often ends up happening because the internet is a machine of autism, someone will go back through all of their tweets or Facebook posts, and they'll find out they're just a cavalcade of mental health issues, like over and over and over. They're like, you'll find post after post. Oh, this is me dealing with depression yet again, and it's like, are you trying to medicate your depression through Twitter and triumphs over other people? If you are, you're not actually medicating your depression. You need to get help before you fail at destroying someone else and end up destroying yourself. Isaac Bowles says, this guy is a Jesus freak. I love him. He also says, Nick, thank you for having anime Andrew Torba on.
What? I don't even know what that is.
Don't. Andrew Torba is the founder of Gab, the Twitter alternative Gab. The funny thing about Andrew Torba is like he's very Christ-pilled or whatever, but he considers anime and everything to be degenerate, so it's kind of funny.
Devil.
To be the anime Andrew Torba is to be the better Andrew Torba, in my opinion.
All right, cool.
Blarg Coster says, have some free money for you and YouTube because of Pokemon. Keep up the raw work. Thank you, I will. C. Quinn Shallardust says, Eric, is there an anime series of Bible stories or parables that share the gospel? Would you be part of such a series? Hashtag God's own son provided eternal life. Well, I mean, there is that one, there's one anime series about the Bible, right?
I remember back when I was young, I watched one called Superbook.
Oh, I was thinking of the dark Bible Black.
Oh yeah. That's a lot more skin inside there. That I think it was the Days of Noah that one really covers. You troll.
Okay, which one did you watch?
Well, it's really old. I want to say it's from like the 70s or the 80s. It's called Superbook, and it's about these kids who go back in time. And I want to say that they have either remade it or they've started to remake it. But it's I don't know if you ever saw back in the day, Hanna-Barbera had this series, kind of the same thing. They go back in time and they get to relive all these great moments of biblical history, like
The
the
Magic School
Jews.
Bus. That's what it was called.
Virtually the Magic School Bus, but I think it was called
Yeah.
Adventures of the Old Testament or something of that nature. But yeah,
Yeah.
check out Superbook. It's cool.
Did you ever see Spriggan?
I never did.
Spriggan's a weird anime, but involves Noah's Ark in a way that doesn't in any way involve the Noah's Ark story, but I like it.
Was
I
there
like it.
40 days of rain at least?
Nope. But there's a guy who could throw a piece of metal across the city because Spriggans are fucking cool.
I'm hooked.
All right. Yeah, I actually Spriggan is a very, it's like, I think it's an OVA. It's only like a 40, like a one-off 45-minute show, and it was really fun.
Okay. Kind of like Blue Sub 6. Very good show as well. Or
Maybe.
movie.
I have no idea. Mexican Man and Cheese says we did have gatekeeping in nerd culture. They shamed us out of doing it by saying we would only check women's nerd cred when they flooded in, or that's when they flooded in. Yep. You should always check women's nerd cred. You should always check women's nerd cred the same way you would check a man's nerd cred. The funny thing is you can always see a man's nerd cred because they're fat.
Mhm.
That's a joke.
Or they have their name stitched into their Spider-Man underwear by their mom.
God, yeah. Ooh,
Mhm.
that's great. Jackson Kai says there are no female space marines. Big E will never be known as Neoth. Slice of life anime is heresy. The Emperor protects. That's correct. There are no female space marines. There's an all-female armor. There's an all-female army in 40K, and they get the most plot armor of anyone because even though they're not genetically modified, even though they're not hulking 8-foot tall super monsters that weigh 400 pounds and can lift a ton by themselves just for breakfast, they still keep up. They have the most plot armor and plot weapons ever. They keep up with space. They keep up with custodians. They keep up with the better space marines. And they're like, oh, these aren't good enough. We got to have female space marines. Like, shut your goddamn gosh darn mouth. Shut your mouth, you hookers. Oh, I hate these people. Lucy says, hello from the DFW area, thinking and praying for both of you tonight. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you, Lucy. Really appreciate that.
Mr. Bentham says, the only thing I have to say to those who enjoy slice of life anime is how embarrassing.
Oh.
Bad Dragonite. Oh, Nance has joined as a paralegal. Thank you. Bad Dragonite says, I agree that some of the best conversations come up during gaming sessions, based and Halo pilled. 200 Watt Studio says, has Eric answered the Futa question yet? Yes, he has. In the worst way. The worst way. The Tim Pool fence sitter way. He said one ball.
Milk
one
toast.
Ball. Joel Reese says, Eric, you take that back about One Punch Man right now.
I cannot. It's left my mouth. There it must stay.
Callan Shaw Indie Game says, thanks for the late night stream. Thanks for raising apparently 5 great Undertale fans. And thanks for standing up for the One Punch Man. Great stream. Thanks for your great work, both of you guys.
Thank you.
I wish there weren't so many weirdos online, because I would love to like show pictures of my kids' costumes and stuff, but I can't. And you know who the worst perpetrators of that is? You know who prevents me from showing pictures of my kids online?
Who?
What profession do you think it is?
I would say teachers.
Lawyers. The people who have talked the most about my children in gross and weird ways are lawyers.
Really?
Specifically bald racist lawyers from North Carolina named Greg Doucette.
You would think that they had a better level of decorum to maintain.
They don't. They don't. They're these weirdos who have like an obsession. They're like, oh, are his kids even real? Has anybody seen them? It's like, yes, lots of people have seen them, but thank God you haven't, you disgusting pervert.
Yeah, or the CIA who's going down right now.
Yeah, it's they're yeah. They're the worst of all the people. Other lawyers are the worst people about my kids. It's gross. Bad Dragonite says, "Oh, so one ball is good enough, but not One Punch Man."
Oh,
yeah.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Space Monkey says, "Nick, Sentai Filmworks is the best anime licensing company. This is the company you should be supporting." I don't have a problem with Sentai. They're just not a player. Like they're the indie shop, and that's great. Do it, and I hope everybody loves what they're making. But I mean, when you're talking about anime in America right now, you were talking about Funimation, Crunchyroll, Netflix, and Amazon. Now you're talking about Funimation, Netflix, and Amazon because Crunchyroll was subsumed into the Funimation. I'm happy to support Sentai. I hope they get more work or whatever, I guess. Actually, I don't know that I'm happy to support them. I don't know any of them, but I don't dislike them. I'm not against them.
You're not out for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Joel Reese says, okay, now regarding JoJo, it's just over the top ridiculous. I mean, you call it that. I call it a little bit gay. It dials everything up to 11 and is by far the most memeable anime ever. It's a must watch. Look, this is what I say about everybody who goes after Vic. They're anti-LGBT. Because if you cancel Vic, you cancel Vic's pants, and Vic's pants are really gay. There may be... Look, when I got Vic's mom talking to me about his gay pants, I know how gay they are. So that's all I'm saying. Broly Love says, everything might be going to download, but as history repeats itself, like vinyl is coming back, CDs, Blu-rays, etc. will come back because we love hard. Yes, no, I agree. It'd be good. Monkey Man 04 says, speaking of companies changing things after the facts, HBO Max has an edited version of the Evil Dead poster to get rid of the arm choking the woman. And very embarrassing. HBO Max also edited the hell out of Berserk, the animated Berserk. And I watched it and I'm like, how do you look, whatever your feelings on nudity in anime are, I mean, there's a lot of nudity in Berserk and all of it is edited out in weird ways. Like they have the women naked, but there's no nipples. It's like, this is just weird.
People.
Yeah. This is a bunch of mannequins running around. I hate it. I don't even understand. Alex says, can't take anymore. You're both insufferable and I need to sleep. God bless you both for going this long. Eric, thanks for your work. Thank you, Alec. I appreciate it. Lethal Burrito says, the last movie I saw in theaters was The Green Knight. I was on shrooms, so it was amazing. Lol, it's been 20 years since I've set foot in a theater. Movies today just don't do it for me.
Preach.
Hanging Right Nut says, how dare you talk bad about One Punch Man? William Barnes says, if you believe in God, you can't call it a suicide machine. You have to call it an interplanar teleporter. Caved In says, hey, Nick, have been watching since Tonka v. Warski. I'm in Texas and desperately need legal rep/counsel and don't know where else to turn. Much love and hope you or Ty can help me and my family. Caved In. Please email me. And if you did email me again. Say, hey, I'm Caved In on YouTube in the subject line in giant capital letters. Dex Luther says, everyone should read The Story of God, a biblical comedy about love and hate by Chris Matheson. Never heard of it. Xander's Rant says, what do you think of Hillsong Hosanna? I like the song, but I found out that they took it from Jesus riding the donkey and people misquoting the Old Testament.
Ooh.
I don't know
if I even know that version of that song from Hillsong.
I guarantee you I've heard it, but I couldn't tell you what it is right now.
Yeah.
200 Watt Studio says, Eric, do you think Lemoyne could be a voice actor?
For dubbing over commercials of guys when they do that little, hey, here's the reason why not to smoke ad for like the Marlboro Man.
Emphysema's a real problem in America. I cough up 14 pounds of phlegm every morning. After 18 years of coughing that up, I've created one anime voice actress worth of phlegm.
At least menthol keeps my nostrils open.
They're big girls, is all I'm saying.
Ryoji Mata says One Piece isn't weird. You're just a massive boomer. Get wrecked. Get wrecked. Wolfgang Deo says, wait, no, that was me. I said One Piece is weird. One Piece is weird. Screw you. You get wrecked. Wolfgang Deo says, is Bible Black a good Christian anime? Yes. Yes, it is. It will teach you the book of Revelation. and Song of Solomon. That's it. It's just Song of Solomon and the book of Revelation combined.
Oh gosh. Yeah, just the man's verses.
There are women's verses.
There's she and he.
Mr. Eric, I don't believe there are women.
Your Honor, I think we need to approach the bench and have a discussion about this.
Bible Black's a good one. You know, sometimes you got to hold her down for a little bit. And in the school setting on occasion, you know, from what I've been told. William Barnes says there's no female Space Marines because we're trying to kill the orcs, not invent new ways to make the orcs reenacting episode 1 of Goblin Slayer. Oh my goodness.
Naughty.
Wow. Very, very horrible. That's the end. That's the end of the super chats. We've gone almost 4 hours. I need to go to bed because I have to get up and do this trial in the morning.
Oh, I probably should go to bed too.
Any last words?
Last words. Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me on tonight. This has been a lot of fun. I very much enjoy the organic nature of conversation. Not that we were like given to just stream of consciousness, but it felt like everything had a point. Everything had a start, middle, and conclusion, which I love in conversation. And I enjoy the beautiful detours and the shades of gray we're able to layer in. Keep doing what you do. And to anybody out there, and I guess for both you and I included, always do your best to speak surgically. You've heard the old adage, we have 2 ears, 1 mouth. And this is, to borrow from Jordan Peterson, but if what you're about to say, is false, letting that out, it's only going to hurt you. It's going to eventually, if done long enough, it will sear your conscience. And the stark divide that we see in life right now is really coming from people who are no longer able to see an objective truth or an objective reality. And that's an unlivable existence. So figure out what you stand for. Figure out how to defend your stance on it, as long as it's based in truth. And do not let anybody try and take away from you what is rightfully yours.
Very, very, very wise words. Wolfgang Deo, those are good words. Thank you. Wolfgang Deo says you missed one. Angry Baneling says you missed another one. Nixheck says I'm sitting in my room with a stinger in my lung, waiting for the tomb of some old dying con slut.
Oh no.
Rabbit says your hatred of slice of life anime is heartening, but doesn't even come close to making up for your avid Dave Matthews fandom. Stop drinking Zima. What is this? I hate Dave. I literally hate Dave Matthews and Zima. Cool Frog says, I released my first video on Odyssey. Come and find me, click watch and follow. Check out Cool Frog on Odyssey, guys. And Sword Caliber says, all the LBC I have right now, you might like Trigun if you haven't seen it already. I won't.
Trigun is good.
It is not.
It is. The manga is really, really good. Just skip the anime.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, the anime isn't even real. Don't watch Trigun. Dapper Wolf says, at which watch of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures? I think he means at least watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. All right, I'll think about it. Even though, gosh, every time I see anything from JoJo's, I go, well, that's Liberace right there. So, all right. Well, if you want to hang out for just a second, I'll say goodbye to you after the show.
Sure.
We're going to play the outro. I guess 1 second's like 3.5 minutes, but to the chat, I'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Central Time. We'll be watching the trial of Kim Potter as it takes off in earnest. Opening arguments tomorrow. Check out Eric. He's in the description. I'm guessing you've already done it by now, but if you haven't, get off your butt and do it. And we'll see you guys next time. Dang it. Daniel Tome says, love Vampire Hunter D, Castlevania, and Black Magic, M66. Wolfgang Deo says, Eric has a cute face. Very, very erotic. Look, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust is one of the best animated animes ever.
Yes, it is. Oh,
yeah. All right, guys. We'll see y'all later. Have a good night. Peace.
Right, y'all. God bless.
Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Balmore, a Lafroig, the spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dante to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's